Very quickly, Series 3. Anyone know anything? Series 3?
I don't know.
I'm asking you guys. You should know more than me.
I don't know anything.
And just when you thought that axed news round, it's time for Type 40 Live, the live stream Doctor Who magazine show for your weekend across Rumble, X, YouTube and Facebook too. We track and cover all things Doctor Who from the way back then to the right here and the right now, all in front of a live chat full of fellow friends, fans and companions just like you. And it's just how long? Two days until the world's longest running best loved sci-fi and fantasy TV series returns to the screens. Will Doctor Who season 2 be lit or something else? That's the big question. Type 40 Live kicks up another big Who for Thursday. Come and tell us how you're feeling and what you've spotted out there. Bulbs are certainly lit, aren't they? Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the channel. I'm Dan Hadley, Birmingham's King of the Geeks, raring to go. I hope you are too. Just when you think you've heard it all today, depending on when you're catching up with this, that might not make any sense at all. You're going to think, what the hell is he talking about? We'll get into it in a moment or two, along with everything else that we'd got planned in the first place. So yeah, get yourself an easy chair, pour yourself a drink, and get a bite to eat, maybe, because we've got a lot to cover. And yeah, although I'm smiling, it's not looking great, is it? Okay. So health and safety have been in. They're nearly done, I sort of think. Plenty of room to bring in the panel, I'm happy to say. Who first? Ah, there he is. The dependable Mr. Simon Horton.
I'm dependable. I'm not sure whether is dependable a good thing? That sounds very boring.
We need dependable voices, dependable sort of level-ish heads.
Okay.
Heady times.
We do. Well, we've got one dependable. We've got Lenny here, who's busy depending on chewing his blanket.
All right, I wonder what he's got to say about all of this. Yeah,
he's waiting for Sutek to come back. That's what he's doing.
This is it. Have you been anyway? How are you this week? Good. It's
been good. It's been fabulous weather, but I've missed everything. I've missed all of the news. You know, I gather there's sort of stuff fermenting. I hear, is there a new episode on this weekend or something like that?
There is, but that's kind of the least of our worries right now, because it does seem that a lot of the things that we've been told are very much coming to pass. We'll get into that in a moment or two after I bring in everybody else. How's your week been so far, Charlotte?
It's been good. I've just been chilling and enjoying the weather. It's
been good, hasn't it?
Oh yeah, like I literally had a chat with the dog about how good not with the dog, when I was taking the dog out with a neighbour.
I did wonder.
I have chats with Lenny all the time, Charlotte. I wouldn't worry.
Oh yeah, but you couldn't really have a full-blown conversation about how nice the weather is. It's really.
Try stopping me. Yeah, so we've had about 3 days. So another two days, another 48 hours. That should be our lot for the year. And then we go back to being crap again, won't it?
Well, yeah.
Sunday, apparently, it all breaks on Sunday, doesn't it? It's all downhill on Sunday.
Oh, that's what the British weather does to you.
Russell T. Bloody Davies. Yeah. Take that.
Yeah, blame everything on him.
Blame everything on Russell T Davies. I don't know. Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
as some people pointed out last week, well, if it's really good weather on Saturday, we know what the excuse is going to be.
I thought that this morning, Charlotte.
They were like, here's what's going to be rolled out.
We need it to pour with rain on Saturday night, so there's no excuse.
Everybody's in, and ITV has a power outage or something like that. Yeah. From a power outage to a power innage, we need to bank up our power levels here, and the best way I can think of doing that is to bring on Gary Akers, the Retro Doc.
I wasn't sure. I thought it was in the middle of the Weather Channel there for a second. But,
Look, Gary, we're British. We talk about the
nice.
weather. Come on, get it.
no, I love the rain. Believe me. Lenny is the only dog that I actually wouldn't mind watching sit on the TARDIS for week after week.
Here he is.
I can
Here
watch
he is.
him all
He's
day
got his
long.
blanket. He's busy chewing on this.
There you go.
He's odds on to behave himself. Great hat, Gary.
Oh,
We
well,
love
you know
that
what?
hat.
Never gets old.
That's how the diamond logo should be. Those
That's
colours, that yellow, red, and blue.
No, not a pink in sight.
Mm-mm.
There you go.
They
No,
just
it's logo.
are such cool colours, aren't they?
Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear. We've got people in the live chat already on YouTube, Rumble, Facebook, and X. So we'll comment along with you guys as we're moving because we have got quite a lot to cover. So we've got Stephen in the live chat. We've got Matt, the Wii Music King, as well. So we'll get into some of your comments in a little while. Lord Thoth is here along with, several of our moderators are in as well. Thank you for being here, Lord Thoth. Who else? Peter Harrington here too. Peter Harrington, only 2 sleeps to go.
So
I'm so
excited.
less excited. It sounds like he's in the run up to Christmas, doesn't it? All your Christmases are going to come at once, Pete. You don't even know it.
You know, I can hear if you really you can almost hear like the Rocky music playing in the background as people prepare for Saturday. They're in training.
Yeah. So, in case you haven't seen, just before we were getting ready to go live,
Oh yeah, haven't seen.
that is hitting, that is sweeping several stories actually, but I think this is possibly the most crucial one. Now, we played a little snippet of it on our way into the show. I think we're taking the whole thing now. So check out, this is exactly what has been said on BBC News Round this afternoon. Now, it was recorded last week by the looks of things, but I'll let it speak for itself.
Very quickly, Series 3. Anyone know anything? Series 3?
I don't know.
I'm asking you guys. You should know more than me.
I don't know anything.
I kind of know that the Doctor's reached the status of like Robin Hood. Sometimes there might be a pause, and during that pause, the viewers of Newsround Now will grow up a few years and start writing stories, and they'll bring it back. So I have absolute faith that will survive, because I'm living proof of it. And that's what happens to good ideas. No good idea ever dies.
Wow.
And Russell T Davies knows all about good ideas, doesn't he?
Well, he knows about good ideas dying.
That doesn't sound too good, does it?
That sounded kind of non-committally. Sounds like don't wait for season three, folks. Because but series 3 by the sounds of it is going to come along once the people who are watching Newsround have grown up. So that's what we're talking about. 10 years, something like that.
Well, play 15. Give them a chance to get in and out of uni as well. So it's about 20 years. So
Don't hold your breath waiting. Yeah, don't hold your breath waiting for series 3.
When we're in the retirement home, matron will wheel in some enormous screen maybe, or just push it in because nothing will be on casters then. It'll all be free floating. So this screen will sort of hover in and we can sort of sit around with blankets on our legs, Simon, and so with our teeth in a glass, and just sit there vaguely staring at something that may slightly resemble Doctor Who. Cheers, Russell. It's something to look forward to.
Yeah.
It's funny because Shooty almost had a vibe of like he didn't know how to answer that to me.
No.
He was sort of like, I don't know. Like, do you know when you're like, how do I answer this right? It just screamed of that to me. And to be fair, if he didn't quite know how to answer it, he probably did the best he could. But
he didn't want to answer it, did he? Let's be honest.
Did you get that vibe as well, Simon?
Oh, 100%.
Two things hit me about that clip. Two things hit me about that clip there. Shooty and Verada clearly, and I didn't really pick up on this until recently, until all the pieces started to fit. They seem like two people, evidently, who haven't seen each other in the best part of a year. All the film that you see of them together, they barely let one another go. Now, working on that show for 8 months, did he say? 8 months of graft would have really pushed those two people together the way it tends to. With any combination of these actors, it breeds a great sense of camaraderie. So I think you can tell they haven't seen one another in a long time. And I also get the impression that they are perhaps in a place where they don't necessarily know where, after this round of publicity, they're not really sure when they're going to see one another again. They certainly work with one another again. And they seem like old friends reunited rather than steady colleagues who are continuing to work together. And you're quite right. I don't think Shooty wanted to answer that question. In fact, it wasn't that he didn't have an answer. He was feigning interest. It's old news to him. He's as our sources here at Type 40 Live have confirmed from several of our sources, it's now in the past for Shooty Gatwa. He is gone.
I don't know if Shooty said this on his Instagram or on social media, but apparently he said he's been given a Sonic as like a present.
Yeah. Okay. That's a departure present, surely. That's like the golden fob watch, isn't it?
And
yes, there's a precedent for that, isn't there, Charlotte?
Yeah, and I just find that interesting that he's come out and said it, because fans, like Simon said, we all know the sort of patterns that departing doctors have in this show, and the pattern is you get given a Sonic.
Yeah.
Really? Yes, you're quite right. And this is also something that was on over the week. In the rounds of publicity again, this was put out by BBC Radio 1 all across their socials as one of their reels, where Shooty is watching a few things back, and they're talking about sonic screwdrivers. And he apparently the one that he's in possession of doesn't flash, a particular light doesn't flash, or a noise doesn't sound, or whatever. It's not quite doing what he thinks it should be doing.
Dear.
It's not the executive model. And you're quite right, Charlotte. People have jumped all over that because the precedent set, isn't it, is that people get gifted these when they leave the role.
Yeah. That was on the Greg James breakfast show, I guess, and he was
That's right.
He was all excited about the toy Sonic with the lights and the things, and he was like, well, why didn't this didn't happen on the show? And Verada actually had to explain to him, well, they overlay the sound in later and stuff. And then he made this comment, I don't know, maybe by accident, which was kind of a giveaway that you don't gift people stuff, as you said, until they're leaving.
The precedent is that the actors don't get gifted their Sonics until they vacate the part. That is absolutely true, but there has been a little bit of digging has provided some answers here. It would appear that it is slightly different this time. If you head over to Shooty Gatwa's Instagram, that's his social media of choice, and you'll find a post from around 18 months ago here where he was watching Doctor Who on the telly there in his flat. And there's various things, or was he flat or his house? I can't remember which it was. But there, he's in his domestic abode. And he's got various things littered around there. And if you look a little bit closely, you see that there is the Sonic that he was presented with.
Oh, okay.
That's actually been in his possession for far, far longer. So it would appear that tradition was broken just this time, but that doesn't alter the fact, certainly, that all our sources have been telling us for months now that Shooty Gatwa is indeed an ex-doctor, a past doctor, as John Cleese would say. Yeah, so all these bits, I mean, it's tittle-tattle in some respects, isn't it, Charlotte? But you can put all the pieces together and it forms a very particular picture, doesn't it? I mean, because Russell T Davies, even though that video that we just watched there was recorded at the premiere, it looks like it was later in the evening. Everybody looks a lot more tired.
Yeah, they do.
Even though it was recorded on the premiere night, which is well over a week ago now. It's a slightly different signal, I believe, that he's sending there. In the first video, it was, we're ready for anything. We've always been ready. We were born ready, ready, Breck.
Yeah.
All that kind of stuff. Ready, Rob, you name it. Everything was ready. In that one, he's not saying he's like a defeated man, but you can see he's sort of laying the stall out, I think is the expression, Simon,
it-
to expect.
It feels like he's prepping the fans. That's the vibe I get. That if he sort of gently puts out of, oh, it's like Robin Hood, it will always be here, or maybe there's a pause or there's a break.
He's
It's
right,
like
but it's very different to what he was saying in the earlier video a couple of
Yeah.
hours ago, the previous the same night.
Of all the things you could say in a situation like that, where you just stand there and it almost doesn't matter what you say, you just stand there bloviating for whoever they're asked you the question.
Oh, it's just hyperbole, isn't it,
Yeah,
Gary, at the end of the day?
why you would choose then to go down that road when you could literally go down any other kind of a thing? As you said, Dan, we're excited. You know, we're excited to see what the fans think. Blah, 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 blah. Why you would choose to, of all your options, to do that is puzzling.
The fandom has jumped on that news round clip in just the last hour and a half, Charlotte. Is that any surprise there?
no, because like you said, we were all watching, I think, more closely Russell and his sort of his body language and his way he's saying things, because we've not got an official response and we're not going to get anything official. I think what you said a while ago, that Russell will get told after series 2 gets put out. There's no window for us. That's been said. We have no idea when we're going to get told anything officially. So we're just sort of hunting and trying to find out our own answers. But like you said, you can't deny now in multiple occasions he's basically floated that it might be on pause. Oh, I don't know. Oh, I hope it comes back. There's definitely a picture and you can't deny it now. I think you'd be a bit naive to try and argue, oh, Doctor Who's fine and it's going to get going soon and everything's going to keep on going as it was.
There's no point really saying anything to a large extent, is there, Charlotte? Because whatever you say, it's either going to feel like sort of fluff, just sort of light hyperbole that hasn't got any consequence whatsoever, because we know that the show isn't really loved very much at the moment, or obviously then it is in danger, if you're honest about it, it's in danger of then being a little bit too on the nose. So it's a difficult one to pull off. Back in the Tennant days when the show was just stratospheric, you could wax lyrical about the success of the show and what's coming up and all the rest of it, but as I say, to do that these days does just sound a bit hollow, doesn't it? A bit empty and just a bit weightless.
The fans are burnt out, Simon, not just on screen Doctor Who, but on speculation, aggravation, wokeism, and needless sensation as well. You know, we've over the years on this show, we've said over and over again, you know, about hyperbole and how it can sort of wear one down a little. And we say that with our tongue in our cheek to some degree, but there's actually quite a lot of truth in there, sort of embedding it in, isn't there? It is, unless you can back it up, deliver consistently, then the hyperbole just doesn't work.
It's hyperbole then. The whole point about hyperbole is it's trying to whip up excitement where there isn't anything to be whipped up. You know, that's the definition of hyperbole. And so that's where you end up if you're not careful. And that's really where it is now. People are, you're right, Dan, people are just a little bit just a bit bored of it and a bit hollow, and they've had too many promises that haven't really worked out over the years, and so people are just a bit I don't think they're sold on it in the way anymore. Do you think they are? I just don't think they buy it.
I think that fandom seems to me, Gary, to be more excited about the prospects of Doctor Who not being on telly than when it is, that shouldn't be the case. What do you think?
Well, I mean, I choose to believe that it's because that they have so much love for what Doctor Who, like true Doctor Who, that they'd rather have a period of time where there's no Doctor Who than what they consider bad Doctor Who.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of am in that camp because nothing is going to take away from classic and from the parts of New Who we enjoyed. But I think people just want what they consider the kind of desecration of the show in whatever respect to stop. They just, that's where they are.
just stop. Don't just get us hyped. Actually, get us properly excited. Show us something that looks like it's the show that we love, and the characters and the emblems that are familiar. It's great to see this logo back. Of course, it is. And this time I have quite enjoyed these teasers and things that have appeared. I think they've been quite effective. Certainly very well made and more interesting than in several years. So that's the good news. But and the irony is the series is looking and feeling more like a well-oiled machine than it has in an extended period, and yet it would appear that it's about to come to a close, at least for now.
I wouldn't be surprised if, like, internally BBC or Disney, when they're starting now to try and gauge interest, or like, because they try and like predict, don't they, like how many people might tune in, or they try and because then they'll off that they will then think, right, we need to advertise this much, we need to do this to help. Like, they do so much like back end analyzing before it's even gone out, and I wouldn't be surprised if that's now starting to sort of get fed back to Russell, and it feels like, to me, I agree with you, even though they've had a lot better advertising this time, better teasers, better trailers, that because of all the damage done before, there's not really an appetite, and they're sort of almost bracing themselves for sort of a bit of a meh response, unless the episodes are brilliant and it starts to pick up again. But at the moment, they haven't got the episodes. They're waiting to see how that first one's going to do, just off pure interest off the brand, because it hasn't got anything else to back it up yet.
Well, I've been saying for a while, we are unfortunate. Christmas, when I said that Christmas just gone was Doctor Who's last chance, what I meant was, I didn't mean it was its last chance, or its literal last night on the deck of the Titanic, or anything like that. Or that it was going to disappear there and then. I felt it was its last chance to really grab the general audience again. And in some respects, I feel that the place that we are in now, Simon, is very similar to where we were at the close of the classic series, where, let's be honest, whatever we feel about McCoy, in that last season and a half, they turned things around.
Yeah, they did.
The program, it looked and felt and sounded more like Doctor Who than it had in a long time. It was very confident. It got a new injection of energy, but it was simply too late because everyone had effed off.
Yes, that's exactly, you've hit the nail on the head there, Dan. It was too little too late, unfortunately, because the public had massively fallen out of love with it. And I know that, the close down of the classic years is always blamed on the scheduling of the show opposite Coronation Street, and that's why it got terrible viewers. And it simply isn't true. Of course, that will have done it no favors whatsoever. But the difficult to swallow truth is that by then the public were out of love with the show, and sadly, that seems to be the case again now. We've said so many times, if you compare the sort of the feeling now, the feeling in the air at this moment in time with the public, compared with, say, during the Tennant years, there's just no comparison whatsoever. There is a feeling that exactly, that's it. There's just this feeling that it's had its day. But people are just a bit meh with it, as Charlotte says. And it feels, and that's how it felt. That's unfortunately how it felt at the end of the McCoy years. Well, sorry, Charlotte.
I'm a big believer in a bit of swagger, Charlotte, and putting a brave face on as well, like that. But the simple fact of the matter is, this is a really expensive show. It should be fit for purpose. It should be efficient, and especially when they've got all those months to make very little material. 8 episodes coming our way, Charlotte. They've had a long time to work on these because they were filmed whenever it was ago. They should be really, really confident about what they're going to put out there. And ideally, I think they probably have tried to assure a short-term, if not long-term future for the show. So it's not like I think they're not trying, but I do think if they'd have played a tighter game throughout this entire process, and crucially, not gone woke and gone broke, then we wouldn't be where we are now. We wouldn't be having this conversation, Charlotte.
Well, I also, and obviously the comparison to the 10 years is there because you've got Russell, you've got, like, that was when it was at its height.
It's unavoidable, Charlotte, isn't it?
I think another comparison you could also do is Matt at the beginning of his run, because at that point, Doctor Who was sort of at this thing of, is it going to survive past Russell? Is it going to survive past the glory years, so called? And there was that feeling of, right, we know Moffat can write, but can he showrun? Can he do the actual bigger job? He can write one-off episodes very well. We had this very young actor in the role that the British public had no idea generally who he was, very much how shoot he was when he got announced. And you sort of had this sort of this moment of taking a breath and seeing how it went. And they did the best thing they could, which was had probably, I think, the strongest run Matt had was his first series.
Yep.
Some of the best writing Matt had as his Doctor was in that first series. So even if it started to tailspin a bit, it still had the strength of the start to keep it up. And I feel like that was the moment we had with Shooty when that first series was going out. It was very similar in some regards.
Yeah, because it had come within close succession of the 3 specials in the same way that Matt's first series had come in close succession to Waters of Mars, End of Time, all that stuff.
Yeah, and it sort of, and 10, I know 10 had a bit of a mixed response in that 60th, but he still got lots of people saying he did very good acting in those episodes, and people liked some.
I thought he was great.
Yeah, so I just, like you said, the problem is, we've all said this, you can't get your first impression again. You can't redo that excitement again and that trying to get fans on board again. Yeah. And they're sort of, it's like going up a hill, which is more steep and more steep and more steep. And I don't think they're going to be able to go over the top, personally.
Over the top, I don't think any shooter will have any problem whatsoever in going over the top or down the other side by the looks of things in this key art with its bright pink logo here. As I say, everything, I love all this stuff. I've really enjoyed the publicity so far. I think that Shooty Gatwa's sort of excesses have been leveled out a little by his charming new co-star, who just seems a bit more grounded. And I don't know, I think that they've been a bit more targeted in how they've marketed the show. So yeah, it's all coming together. Not too bad at all, in my opinion. Okay. Where next? It's okay. I've got some noise on my ear. Please excuse me, everybody. I'm not sure what it is. Okay, so where's next? What we've got to talk about next? Well, as with any new season of Doctor Who, if you're not feeling it, Simon, then you're not feeling it. There's very little you can do to bring that about in a kind of artificial way. Is there?
Well, no, absolutely, and you know, as I've been saying for a while now, that sadly, yeah, I am done. I gave the show a really good crack last year. I got through about half of the episodes, as I think, before I ran out of steam and had to stop watching. And so, yeah, I'm done. I'm out. I have. Whereas last year, I wasn't sure about last year, but I was prepared to give it a go. And so even after the first 2 episodes, which I hated, I was still prepared to just give it a chance and just keep on. And also there was part of that, as we've all had at some point in our love of Doctor Who and our hate of Doctor Who, you get that feeling every so often where I'm just going to keep doing it because that's what I do. I'm a Doctor Who fan, and so it's a habit, and you do it. So that was me very much. That was where I was last year. This year, there's no curiosity in me. Last year there was a degree of curiosity. Sadly, there's no curiosity in me now. I'm done. I'm spent. I've run out of energy, and I'm sorry, but I just don't love the characters anywhere near as much as I would need to want to tune into this. In fact, I don't like the characters that I've seen, and so why would I want to spend an hour in their company? I just don't, and so I'm done. I'm out, and I'm very happy with that. To be honest, I'm very, very happy.
Yes,
To be
so
out.
where, as I said, there's nothing you can really do to sort of artificially generate interest, is there? But sometimes, the Doctor Who being as easily marketed as it is, now and again they can step in and do that for us. Who we've got? Please excuse me, everybody. We've got, I don't know what's wrong there. Okay, so we do have Matt Pott about to join us as well. I'm happy to say, our real life time traveller. He's up. Where have you bloody been?
Hello.
Good morning, mate.
You're late.
I got stuck in a time, Eddie. I'm
The usual
okay
excuse,
now,
yellow
though.
card.
Oh no, it's just silly. I don't know what's going on with the technical difficulties. I think.
You're in the dark.
It's like,
as well.
oh no,
Put
we're not
another-
talking about shooting again. My computer won't work.
Have you been all caught up on everything that's been going on the last few days, Matt? It's all kicking off here.
Which one?
Are you feeling it yet? More importantly, are you feeling it yet?
Look, I'm kind of a little bit I'm kind of a little bit done with it. Like Simon,
That's what we're just saying.
I just feel that maybe it needs a rest now. I really want to enjoy it, but I know that I'm going to be disappointed. I'm going to be totally disappointed. I know I am, and so this isn't for me anymore. I'm done.
It's a shame, though, isn't it, Matt? Do you?
Yeah.
Mind you, do you feel disappointed?
It
I have
is.
to be honest,
I'm sad about it.
I'm not disappointed. This is terrible. I'm not. I'm cool with it. I'm happy. I'm at peace with this. It's good. I'm not worried. It doesn't bother me. Does it bother you?
It just annoys me that I gave it another chance, and I was just so disappointed by that chance that I just I can't do it again because. I've already seen Shooty's acting, which is terrible. There is no way that he can even remotely get better. Mainly because also, don't forget, this show was filmed at the same time as the last one. I think they only had like a few weeks break, maybe a month or two.
Yeah, something like that.
We have
Between the
visited
two.
this point several times, as I say.
But what I'm saying is,
several times.
well, I mean, unfortunately, we're visiting the same thing, it looks like, this time around with all the news that I've been catching up on. So it just looks like it's going to be more of the same. And I don't want to repeat that either, you know?
Yeah, fair enough. If you've not saved this to your desktop as your new wallpaper, if this isn't doing it for you, then maybe we can regenerate some interest with this little stash of brand new merchandise that's just been announced in the last couple of days. So perhaps you can get some of this on pre-order or get it in your shopping basket right now, Simon, and see.
I'm poised.
You can wear your support for the new season of Doctor Who, maybe in this new T-shirt, a TARDIS T-shirt for 2025. This is from Forbidden Planet.
That's actually
at
kind of cool.
£19.99.
No, I'm here, honey. Where's my stick gone?
I like this.
It's not bad. It isn't bad. I'm pleasantly surprised. I wouldn't buy one. I have to be honest. It's not good enough for me to want to buy, but I am pleasantly surprised by that. You wonder, don't you? I don't know. Maybe as you're quite right, Matt. Where is the hi honey, give me the loving, all that kind of stuff. Maybe
it was all pink, wasn't it?
Well, maybe they've realised though. Maybe that's why they've gone for something a bit more classic that we've all said, oh, actually, that's not bad. And maybe they've deliberately done that, and they're leaning away from the give me the loving.
Do you know,
maybe
Simon?
it's deliberate.
But you know, Simon. Gatwa was front and center last time.
Yeah,
he was.
Yeah.
He was
quite
all...
rightly, Matt. To be fair,
yeah.
But don't get too excited. I quite
it's
like
another
this
repeat.
one. But it looks a bit like it's either a slinky or a novelty condom, Matt. I'm not quite sure which, but that's £19.
Is it printed on the back?
£19.99, and it's available from the 15th of April, so just a few days' time. As is this one. You wanted Shooty, you've got him. Here he is.
Oh, it's all plummeted down the hill.
It's
The Doctor in denim shirt, part of the same range, same price, £19.99.
Denim skirt.
Once again,
He's got a skirt.
15th of April.
We opened our mouths too soon, didn't we,
Yeah.
Dan?
I'm afraid so.
Oh,
Again,
wow.
where are the slogans? There's no honey here. There's none of that stuff.
No.
I like
So you
the
do
de-
wonder, just maybe they have seen the light with that.
I like the design-ish sort of thing going on because it's not quite photo-realistic, but that dress, oh god.
Yeah.
It's like there's no way I'd wear that in public.
How about you, Charlotte?
It's probably a night sleeping thing, but even then I'd be a bit worried. The
Yeah.
nightmares.
I like blue on him, but I don't like the. Is it a dress? I don't know what you'd even call it.
I think it's the kilt, isn't it? Isn't it the kilt thing?
Is it a
sort
kilt,
of-
technically?
I think so, Charlotte.
Yeah,
I think
have
as I recall.
spoken to a couple of Scots about this, and because there is a belief in Doctor Who fandom that because I wanted an answer on this, and so the idea is because I was told that it can't be a kilt because there's no sporran, but it's actually kilts. You can have a kilt without a sporran.
Okay.
Something is a kilt if it is of a certain length and it is pleated in a certain way.
Okay.
Then it is a kilt, and if it's matched with a particular kind of sock, wearing the socks up to a certain point and the skirt down to a certain point means one is in fact one is wearing a kilt. So they are kilts that he's wearing, but even so, this is the same production whereby the showrunner, various people involved, have voiced several times how they wanted to bend gender norms. So it's not like it's all on us. It's not like we're imagining this.
Right.
They put this sort of hypersexual version of the Doctor in for what looks like to the naked eye for a lot of people out there observing in the fan base and the general audience, put him in a skirt. So I think it's not quite gaslighting us, but it's not far off.
I think that the shirt is actually a bit longer than a normal t-shirt, and that's probably what they mean by gender
You could
norms.
be right. There's
I can never find a long t-shirt, and I actually don't mind long t-shirts.
You've never just found one. You've found two. In fact,
Yeah,
you found three.
I have
Here's
to get
another
it
one.
when it's on
This
sale.
Is called the retro ringer t-shirt.
No.
And on this graphic, it says no. What I find interesting about this final one of the set of 3 t-shirts, is that he's not the 15th Doctor this time. It's just the Doctor, which is again a problem that we had last year that we all remarked on. Why all of a sudden do they keep telling us that he's the 15th when he should be just the Doctor?
I'm going to sue somebody for derogatory use of the term retro in this occasion.
What a bunch of piss takers, I know. Again, it's got a nice 70s kind of vibe to it, Simon.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Sorry, you want me to say something positive about it? Let me think about that for a minute.
Unfortunately, where we are now, see, a year ago when we didn't, 18 months ago, Charlotte, when we didn't know this character and this incarnation of the Doctor, it all seemed like a bit of a mystery. There was lots of possibilities in the air. Now they've come out with these shirts, which are really a bit more like it. This is the right kind of apparel you want to see attached to Doctor Who, rather than things emblazoned with the phrase "honey" and lots of rainbows.
Yeah, fair point.
And this is, but of course the damage is done. This has been my point earlier. The damage is done. People do not like this actor in this role. They don't recognise him as Doctor Who or the Doctor, and so it just. As much as I think this is a massive improvement, I can't see people going for this.
Well, no, because people have to take to the actor or the Doctor to want to buy a shirt with him on. Like it's not like it's like a monster design that you can go, I like that monster at least in that episode. I might not have liked other parts of it, but I like the monster. Whereas the Doctor, you need to be wholesale all in for Shooty at this point if you want to buy these things. And he does have some fans, but for a good chunk of the fan base, it's not worked yet.
Well, and Charlotte, as Domgo says in the chat, who would wear these? I mean, and as you just said, Matt, you just wouldn't wear this in public. I mean, being brutally honest, back in the The first T-shirts came onto the market during the Peter Davison years. I mean, they were from America, from the Spiritual Light Foundation, as I recall. I don't know whether you remember them, Gary. But they were Peter Davison T-shirts around then. And truth be told, nobody would have worn a Peter Davison T-shirt in public. However popular the show was, they just wouldn't have done it. You just wouldn't do it. Now, again, going back to sort of the Tennant years, certainly people would have happily worn a Tennant T-shirt and not felt embarrassed in public. But I just don't think you might get away with wearing the TARDIS T-shirt in public. I think you'd be okay in that. I just don't think anybody's going to wear this in public. I don't think you'll ever see anybody in one of these T-shirts.
Taking the T-shirts, maybe you'd fancy one of the matching mugs here. God. The retro Ringer and TARDIS mug there. Those are out on the 23rd of April 2025 at $10.99 each. So mixing the kind of the two designs there, the TARDIS and the Doctor.
I would not want to be lifting Shooty to my lips every time I wanted to take a drink.
Oh dear. Yeah, retro Ringer and TARDIS mug. That's $10.99 there. These are all at forbiddenplanet.com. Maybe you fancy a little Shooty to fasten onto your person. You can have this Doctor in denim kawaii badge.
There you go. That's embarrassing.
This is a bit more your speed, isn't it? He's even got his little rings on his fingers. Look, Matt. On it.
Look, I like a badge, but I wouldn't want to nail that to my microphone.
I was going to say, put it on your mic.
No. I've got one badge, and I'm happy with that. Thank you very much.
I still think, and I know we've gone over it, so I'm not suggesting going over it again. But all this merchandise that you've just shown us, Dan, just reminds me how lacking we are of a Doctor's costume. I know we've talked about this in the past, but do you know what I mean? That we desperately needed a defining image for this Doctor. I think they made a fatal error by not giving him an outfit. It's just too uncertain. Sorry, Matt.
No. I'm sorry. No, I've just realised that the colour of the whatever you call it, the
kilt,
the dress, is the same colour as the TARDIS. So is this what he's going to regular? Is this his regular thing?
Are we gone from orange? Have we moved on from orange?
Yeah, is the big blue? Long coat gone now? The leather coat?
No, I think he does wear that several times during the season. A lot of these outfits, he never spends more than 5
Well, he could always wear it over it.
In a great deal of them. We've got a couple of coasters here as part of this range too. Choice of 2 coasters. They're avaable now, Matt. So you don't have to
2
wait
designs.
April or May.
That's it.
I have my Jodie DVDs for coasters. I don't need.
There you go. They've got to you too late with these, haven't they? Just the Doctor, no 15th Doctor, no honeys, no rain. I mean, is that a rainbow behind him? Looks more like the Sunkissed logo to me.
Yeah,
you know what, Dan? I thought the exact same thing.
The more I'm seeing of this,
Sunkissed.
the more I'm seeing of this design, you're quite right, Dan. It's kind of 70s styly, but the more I'm seeing of it, the less I'm liking it. This orange and yellow, and I just don't like it. Don't like it. Really don't like it. But actually, looking at it, the Doctor. That I've just realised as well. The Doctor bit that is from that's from the Diamond logo, isn't it? They've lifted that directly from the Diamond logo, and it looks good. Looks good in the font itself. The text looks great. It's just the colours. Really don't like the colours.
If they'd have put these out before Church on Ruby Road, I probably wouldn't have gone for the one on the right, but I'd have probably bought the one on the left.
Really? Would you?
Okay. I like this.
To be honest,
I like this kind of slightly retro, futuristic stuff, and I like the colours as well. So this is just my personal taste.
Yeah.
I like stuff like this. I'm a 70s, 80s kid, so this is the kind of thing that I sort of gravitate towards. But because I've seen him and I've not latched onto the character, I wouldn't even spend a $5 on something like that.
I think Garbage had the most creative, optimal solution. He says, when you put your mug on the coaster, they're heat activated, so the words "not my" appear over Doctor. That could work.
You heard it here first, everybody. WTF says the Zero Room. I think he's too happy with any of these selections so far. Well, we're not done yet. There's a couple more bits and pieces. If you're not sold on the coasters, if you're not feeling the kawaii pins, maybe you'd like a bit of wall art. How about this? Belinda and print there with the Doctor and his new companion on what looks like a turntable there with a vinyl, as they call them now, records to you and me, Simon, records.
Yeah.
So I stood on a record with the long way round written around it, and Belinda's looking very, very Belinda, and the Doctor, he's pointing at, I think he's pointing at you, Matt. He's going to win you over.
It looks too much like that clock he was on, and I did say clock. So
very good. Looking at this, it now is a dress. It's not a kilt. It's a dress. It is a dress. Now, look, I'm going to be very, very fair here because
part at the side, doesn't it, Simon? Which
absolutely. Oh, it's a dress. It's a dress. Now, look, one of my favourite artists of all time is David Bowie. David Bowie in the 70s famously wore a dress a lot. So and I would be hypocritical if I was to sort of slate Shooty for wearing a dress because of that. But what we've got to remember here is that well, firstly, David Bowie is very cool and can get away with wearing a bin liner and would still have looked cool. Shooty Gatwa thinks he is cool and thinks he can wear anything and look cool. But the other thing is, the whole point of this is Doctor Who is a show, and you've got to aimed at a family, and so you've got to know what your audience is, and you've got to aim for that, and you have to ask yourself, is this going to resonate with our audience? Is this going to strike a chord? Is this going to work for us? And I honestly would love Russell T Davies to sort of put his hand on his heart and say, yeah, I think this will work for a family audience. It's as simple as that. David Bowie was not trying for a family audience. He was trying for a cult audience. He could get away with it. Can they get away with this? I don't know.
This is a little more David Bowie-esque, a bit more prog rock, or is it somebody after the pubs have closed, waiting for a taxi, go squat down, take a whiz on the thinking.
It looks
Dr.
like
print.
that famous. What was his name? I'm sorry, it's too early in the morning for me. The gentleman with the
due for an hour. You got it.
The one from the soups.
Andy Warhol.
Tomato soup.
Gary's right.
Yeah,
that's right.
No, sorry, Matt. This does not look like Andy Warhol. I see where you're going with it, but no,
we have Philip Roy in the live chat. He says, I quite like the ring colours. Reminds me of the Target Loch Ness Monster novelisation. I think where I've seen it before. And David Jenkins has joined us too. So has
Hello, David.
Saban Glitz just asks, who's buying this, Dad? Nobody yet. Although this is available now, so
it's on sale.
Some of these
it's in the bargain bin, Matt.
Some of these are in limited numbers, which I think that speaks. In fact, most of these things are in limited numbers, which does suggest to me that there is simply not enough, not even guaranteed custom. There's not any viability in making more than a small number of them because they know they're going to sit there gathering dust on a shelf for X amount of time, Gary.
Do you know what's sad though? Because I'm looking at those blue circles, and there are images in those blue circles, and one of them looks like I thought it was Shooty, and then I realised I think it's Chandra. It's just got no silhouette.
Right.
His silhouette.
At the top. Yeah, top, the fourth one over. Yeah.
Yeah, and I was like, oh, they've got another silhouette of him. But then I was like, oh, no, I think it's the companion.
There's
that's
the Sonic
sad.
is in there as well, and various other bits of paraphernalia. Gary Jones is in the live chat and says, who is the epitome in culture of the Pandaverse, the famous Pandaverse? Somebody's been watching South Park, haven't they? Now, if you can't decide which of those you like the best, which, there's quite a lot there to choose from, Charlotte, you could always go for this final item, the postcard set there. $8.99 for an assortment of graphics representing the upcoming season. There's no honeys. Gary, I'm really sorry to break it to you, mate. There's nothing about honeys, although we do have OMG, we're in space, which is, I believe, a line in this that Belinda says one or two times. So we've got the TARDIS in the slinky at the top. We've got the thinking Doctor, the Doctor in denim. We've got the record player thing, and something that looks like a ticket as well. So I like this stuff. This is really to my taste for the most part.
But a lot of this I mean, we recognize that it's tied to Doctor Who because obviously we've been following the show.
Of course.
Except for the big TARDIS one at the top, which I think is probably the best one. A lot of these things you could show somebody maybe who has been totally out of it as far as keeping up with Who is concerned, and show them, say, what do you think this is of? And Doctor Who would be the last thing they'd guess, because there's nothing on a lot of this art which actually ties it to the show. I mean, for somebody who hasn't been, keeping up with it, I mean.
Well, no, it's like how at one point they really did a lot of the sort of the artwork and the postcards with the Gallifrey symbols and sort of all those things that you'd see in the show when it was the TARDIS or anything from the Time Lords, and that sort of became in people's heads. That's Doctor Who, that sort of image. But the problem is here, even though it's very well designed, I agree, and at least it's a bit more evocative, if nothing else. But for me, if anything, it makes me think more Star Trek.
Ooh.
Yeah, good point, actually.
You know what?
Original Star Trek.
Yeah, classic Star Trek. Yeah, you're right, actually.
Gold, the blue, and the red.
And the sort of almost sort of 50s stuff, 50s, 60s styling, really, isn't it?
It looks like, okay, I'm just talking about being a graphic designer here, but it looks like the CMYK, but without a certain colour. The colour's gone in it. Dan, do you understand what I mean?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. Sorry, Charlotte, you were saying?
And I think some of this is because we've got Lux, it's called, isn't it, where it's the animated and it's set in 1950s.
Yeah.
But like I said, once again, Doctor Who isn't linked to that. Other properties are more linked to that time period. And I just think maybe they could have done a little bit more with this idea, but still kept some of that Doctor Who iconography to sort of balance it out a bit.
Yeah, I agree with you, Charlotte. To me, it just doesn't look like Doctor Who. It's simple as that. I just can't. And I'm surprised by that Cosmic Joyride. That's last season's slogan. I don't know why we're going with that still.
Well,
it's the same show, isn't it?
When they've got such strong key art as this poster, and I think the previous one as well, the more subtle one, I like all this new stuff that's on the merchandise, but it's not going to travel anywhere near as well. And to be quite honest, they may as well have just whacked this on various things. I think people would have been a lot happier. We've got Luke in the live chat, our panelist from the Monday show from the early edition, who says, I'm an hour behind, just joined. What have I missed? Doctor Who been cancelled now? He asks. Keep up, Luke. We've got a lot to talk about on the rest of the show. And maybe you'll pick up on all of that at some point further down the road. You've had interference coming in, but all is becoming sort of clearish, a little bit clearer at any rate. Let us know what you think of all of this. Of course, about that clip of Russell T Davies and Ncuti Gatwa and Varada Sethu there at the premiere last week, which has only just come to light thanks to BBC News Round. What does that spell? Well, I think we all know what it spells out, doesn't it? A great big pause, and that our sources were, after all, correct. Of course, the series starts in less than 48 hours' time. So it's not all up the pictures just yet. We've got loads to talk about here on Type 40 Live on Rumble, X, YouTube, and Facebook too. Keep your comments coming as ever. We're going to look at the Radio Times later on. Yeah, just as they promised, they've delivered. So they have given us a Russell T Davies exclusive episode by episode guide to the upcoming series. I
should look forward to that.
How lucky are we? Don't worry, Simon. We're not going to do the whole season. I wouldn't do that to you. But we are going to take a look at that a little later on. It's the current edition that's in the shops now. They're gaming special. Why anybody would imagine this is totally mixing their markets here. The gaming market does not buy Radio Times at £5.
That is crazy.
Nobody knows their audience, and you don't either. Stop giving it the big one. Okay, this is Type 40 Live. Stay with us because we do have a lot to cover. If you aren't sick of the sound of our voices yet, you may want to get the podcast in your ears too. That's across all major podcatchers, wherever you get your podcasts: Audible, Spotify, Amazon. All those places. The very latest edition is myself and Simon chatting with Alex Storer and David J. Howe about their fabulous new book from Telos, evolution of the toy Dalek there. There's an enhanced video edition on this very channel, and you can get that and all the other editions of the Type 40 podcast there at our home feed at type40.podbean.com too. Oh, Peter, save us from the insanity, Peter. Save us. He's doing his best. He looks relatively confident.
He looks cool there. Boy, does he look
looks
cool.
like a doctor.
Ian,
Yes,
Ian,
yes.
come back. Ian is with us. Ian Diaz is with us in spirit. Look at everybody. I know he's always got an answer, hasn't he?
Miss you, Ian.
Where next? I think there's only one place we can go, isn't there?
Hello, I'm Philip Roy playing the Doctor in the Doctor Who fan film Doctor Who Meets the Scorpion. I've been on quite an adventure, and this is most definitely the Type 40 podcast.
Yes, eat your heart out, Gat. Well, that's what a proper doctor looks like, right, Phil? So, the best way I feel to fortify our souls, our hearts and minds, Simon, for 2 months of heaven knows what, is regular self-love. Not like that. Self-care. I mean, self-care. And I can't think of any better way to sort of top up on self-care than a perusal through the golden pages of your Doctor Who diary. What do you think?
Why not?
I think it's the only way to go,
Yay.
isn't it? Right after.
Hit the button. Yes, indeed. Welcome, one and all, to the diary for sort of the second week of April, really. So it's time to fill up the fluid links with some really fresh mercury. Scaro mercury is the best. If you can get hold of some Scaro mercury, it's the real premium stuff. So we've topped up the fluid links. You'll be pleased to know.
How much percentage proof is that?
High, very high. so we've topped up the fluid links, and we're going to spin the old time rotor, and we're going to disappear off into space to see what was happening this week in the second week of April, way back sometime in the dim and distant past, sometime over the past 60 odd years. Lots and lots of new episodes were being screened this week, 18 new episodes in total. We got some starting, so we got things like Colony in Space was kicking off back in 1971. The Keys of Marinus, even further back, was kicking off. Episode 1 of that was 1964 this week. The Faceless Ones, there's Patrick Troughton on the screen as we're talking, along, of course, with Annika Wills as Polly, both stars of The Faceless Ones, which was kicking off. Episode 1 of that was screened in 1967. The Mutants. I really struggle with the Mutants. One of these days I threaten we will talk about the Mutants, but I'm going to have to steel myself. Episode 1 of that was in 1972. Planet of the Daleks, now we're talking some quality stuff. Planet of the Daleks, that was kicking off in 1973. If you wanted some more New Who, The Unquiet Dead, episode 3 of New Who was on this week. I love The Unquiet Dead, and it was. I don't know whether anybody remembers, but it was at this point that the show really kicked into the stratosphere. People were already. We talked about it last week, didn't we? Or was it the week before? We talked a couple of weeks ago. The press reaction to Rose. But by this time, The Unquiet Dead, I remember by this point, the show was just #1 choice in all of the papers. It could do no wrong, even after only 2 episodes. This was the 3rd episode. And it was
the first historical, wasn't it, as well?
First historical, yeah. And also back in 2009, do you remember this? We were watching Planet of the Dead, that really strange Easter special, which I was never. I could never. It never. What did you think, Charlotte? It just didn't really work for me as an Easter special. Somehow
it sort of just felt like they had a couple of ideas which weren't enough for one episode, so they just chucked them together.
Yeah, and I remember some really crass throwaway comment from David Tennant about Easter eggs, as though that was supposed to make us think it was set at Easter or something.
I can remember the one bit I loved, and I was like, pleased I wanted him to come back was Lee Evans as the unit scientist, and that he was clearly the best part.
Best part about it. It was a bit odd. It was a bit. The location shooting was fabulous, but yeah. But apart from that, anyway. So all those new episodes, and we're not talking about any of them today, I'm afraid. Lots more episodes in there. No time to talk about any of them. What we are talking about first and foremost is we're wishing a very, very happy birthday to Neve McIntosh, who was 53 years old. And we should never ever reveal a lady's age, but I am going to on this occasion reveal that she was 53 yesterday. Happy birthday, Neve McIntosh. Of course, most famous for playing Madame Vastra to the 11th and the 12th Doctors. You may recall that her debut actually was as the two sisters in The Hungry Earth and Cold Blood. She played a double role, didn't she? In the two-parter, the first Silurian two-parter. It still never worked for me. The Silurian masks just do not work for me. I can't get my head around them being human lizards, but there we go. But yeah, once she kicked off in that first Silurian two-parter, that's when she came back in A Good Man Goes to War 2011. I'm sure you remember that one, Charlotte.
Yeah, because I knew they were classic, but I didn't know the full history with them. So, and to be fair, I love the idea of this two-parter. Like, I think it was a brilliant idea. It was just the execution let it down. Basically, because it had that whole debate about, so what if the Silurians came back up and they were like, well, we were here first and you humans are squatters almost. So I like that argument that it's sort of tried to do.
And of course, she, as I say, Madame Vastra then went on to sort of much greater fame as the Paternoster Gang, then in The Snowman, The Crimson Horror, The Name of the Doctor, and finally Deep Breath. And yeah, I mean, it never quite worked for me, but that was mainly because of the comedy Sontaran, and that was the problem I had with this rather than the other two characters.
They're still very popular characters, aren't they?
Very popular.
Yeah. To me, she knew too much about the Doctor and how he, because same with the regeneration and everything. She knew everything about. Don't worry about it. He's still. He's the same person and everything like that, and it's like, well, I just never really fit with me.
I think it would have been a lot better if they'd actually have gone somewhere with it. I always had this niggling feeling that we were never really going to find out anymore. Because I was
it's a good point.
I was very interested in the bond between her and the Doctor. It seemed very storied, and yet we found out absolutely nothing. And it's been like years and years since she was last in it. And not only
she caused a lot of controversy, though. Would that have something to do with it?
I think it's more that Stephen Moffat got bored with the character, but I also think it does the actress Neve herself a big disservice because she's been very loyal to Doctor Who.
Yeah, she has. She's done so many Big Finish. I mean, honestly, they're far too numerous to mention the Big Finish that she's done. Not just as Madame Vastra, but as loads of other things. Well, she's done loads and loads. And of course, she co-wrote one episode of the Paternoster Gang series for Big Finish, Jellyfish. She co-wrote that with Dan Starkey, who is there on the left as Strax the Sontaran. So she's a writer as well. So she's a talented lady. She made her television debut in 1993, TV series called Renegade. That was way back in 1993. The first major hit that she enjoyed was Gormenghast, which was in 2000. And does anybody remember that? It was really weird.
Yeah, I loved that. That was actually probably one of the last real mini-series, actually. Yes. That was actually, you remember when they used to have them over 2 nights and, it'd be like a Monday and a Wednesday or something?
I seem to think, was it about 4 episodes, Gormenghast, something like that? It starred Celia Imrie, Richard Griffiths, Christopher Lee, so real heavyweights were in this show.
It was a huge cast, about 30.
Kind of the way that
Harry
didn't
Potter,
it?
kind of in the way that the Harry Potter movies were, in that it seemed that every British character actor seemed to be in it, even just for 5 minutes. Even June Brown was in it.
Yes.
And I think it was marketed and packaged differently to different territories.
Yes.
In Britain, it was shown on the weekly in hour chunks, but you're quite right. It was in some territories, it was like 2 hour a set of TV movies.
It was made to look very cheerful and everything. And then when I finally got when it was broadcast, it was like, well, that was pretty dark, you know.
It was just a very weird. I mean, I enjoyed it, but it was a very weird series. You can see why it didn't quite catch on, because it was well out there. I mean, it was very weird for BBC at that time. It was really quite
made the star of Jonathan Rhys Meyers, though. That was where he was very young when he did that, and of course now he's a proper TV star, several high-profile series. I'm not sure if he's made any movies, but I'd forgotten that was Niamh McIntosh in that role. I remember I found her very attractive. That really worked for me. I hadn't worked out it was the same woman, because obviously being under all that latex as Madame Vastra, it turns out I've seen her in loads of things.
Well, yeah, I mean, as Doctor Who viewers, you haven't got a clue what she even looks like, because you've never seen her without the makeup on. She's done loads of other stuff as well. She's got a massive CV on Internet Movie Database. Things like Doc Martin, Marple, Inspector Linley. She's been in Sea of Souls, Casualty, but then everybody's been in Casualty. New Tricks. You know, so many
New Tricks.
Yep.
Yeah, so many different shows she's been in. She was in Single Father with David Tennant back in 2010, actually, just before she made her Doctor Who debut. She was in a drama on BBC with David Tennant called Single Father. So you know, she's still working out, obviously. She's one of those people, you don't necessarily know the name, and you don't necessarily recognize the face.
I wouldn't have recognized her through that latex, that's for sure.
I think she's sort of kind of, in a way, I see her as a sort of a contemporary to Saran Jones. And I think actually Saran Jones was also in Single Father with David Tennant, and I see her a little bit like that kind of an actress. But she, for some reason, she just hasn't made the dizzy heights that Saran Jones has managed to achieve. She was born. You might be interested to know she was born as Carol, actually, not Niamh at all. And as her name suggests, she was born in Scotland, Paisley, and she grew up in Edinburgh, where she went to the Edinburgh Youth Theatre, and that was where she got bitten by the bug to want to become an actress. And that's pretty much she's always done. You know, unlike other actors that they go off and do a thing. Sorry if you can hear ripping noises. I do apologise. It is Lenny ripping his blanket. I do apologise if you can hear that. And of course, only last weekend she was at Bedford Who Charity Con. So she's still out there on the circuit. Although, as you say, Dan, she hasn't been in the show for a good old long time, 10 years or more. But she's still doing. She's still well in with the Doctor Who crowd, and say yes, she was at a Bedford convention just last weekend, on her birthday weekend, in fact. So. Good old Niamh Campbell. Niamh McIntosh. Another Niamh entirely. And yeah, happy birthday to her from yesterday.
I've always wondered about other stuff that she'd been in. Yeah, I knew that face from somewhere.
She's one of those people that she does an enormous amount of voiceovers. I don't know whether this is the result of Big Finish or whether sort of Big Finish is the result of the voiceovers, but she does a lot of voiceovers.
She's got a great voice.
Yeah, she's done a lot of games, Matt, stuff like, I think she was in Star Wars games. Yeah, video games.
She's done that
kind of stuff. I can believe that.
She's got that really clear, hasn't she?
Yes.
Sort of old school, sort of British. Like,
Charlotte, she has. She's got good diction. She's got really good diction, and I get very frustrated these days with sort of lazy actors who simply can't enunciate words. And you're right, she can. She's got that beautiful, clear diction.
Because what I used to love about her character in Who is that she'd have that really clear diction, and then like if she got angry, she'd hiss or do something very unhuman, and she could do both which is not easy to do in like the same breath.
Yes.
You could buy like she's almost this Victorian upper class lady, like she was sort of pretending.
Yeah.
And then she'd be the sort of, like I said, that almost animalistic
Yes.
Silurian again.
I think she's a very accomplished actress, and I think in many ways she was kind of wasted in the role because, as you say, Dan, the roles just never really developed. They'd sort of pop up every so often, but they wouldn't move them forward in any way, and it just felt a little bit like, why are they even there? It felt tokenism.
And Moffat was doing that with several characters, and ultimately the only person who really came out of it well was Alex Kingston. Everybody else kind of got burnt. Maybe they see it differently because I think they were probably good and fun roles, but I certainly think that that she was done somewhat of a disservice. And I'm not a massive fan of the Paternosters, but I like the fact that the fandom responded to them in the way that they did, even if it wasn't particularly to my taste. And for example, I have never hankered for that spin-off show. But then again, I never wanted the unit spin-off show either with Bent and the Brigand. To me, that didn't interest me either. So I'm quite happy that the people who like them. They've got their audios and that kind of thing, and there's comic strips and things like that. And if the character came back, it wouldn't be the worst thing in the world. But I think the best thing that we've got out of it is that Neve McIntosh is such an active part of the Doctor Who family now at so many events and very kind of approachable. So I've never met her, but this is certainly the impression that I get.
Yeah. And so she just is a very good actress, and her Internet Movie Database, backs that up. When you see how many roles she's played, she knows what she's doing. So happy 53rd birthday to Neve McIntosh. Before we move on from birthdays, haven't got time to talk about it tragically, but we cannot not mention the fact that Peter Davison's celebrating his 74th birthday this week. So very, very happy birthday to Peter Davison. But moving on from birthdays for a minute. Also this week, now this is an odd one. This is back in 2003. We're setting the coordinates for 2003. Exactly 22 years ago this week. This will mean more to sort of the classic fans than the new fans, although it is still relevant. The BBC Visual Effects Department closed for the very final time, sadly. Oh, I know, Dan. This breaks my heart. This does. Back in, say, 2003, 22 years ago, it finally closed down after 49 years in operation. Isn't it sad? 22.
It's insanity. It's insanity.
22 people were employed at that point. 22 people, Charlotte. Can you believe that? In one department, just doing visual effects within the BBC. 22 people were still employed by the visual effects department at this point. You can see obviously some of the creations there. The Daleks obviously are one of the most famous, although of course they weren't made originally by the visual effects department, but the one on the left certainly was. That is from Remembrance of the Daleks. Crinoid, not Crinoids, Triffids. So Triffids, apologise, not Crinoids. Nearly same genus, I think. Triffids in the middle of the picture there from the Day of the Triffids. It had run for 49 years, Gary, this department, 49 years. It was set up as a result, I don't know whether anybody remembers this, but it was set up as a result of Nigel Neal's Quatermass experiment back in 1953. Basically, what had happened, Gary, is that 1953, they'd been making the BBC had been making Quatermass, and they needed this what became known as a visual effect of the monster attacking Westminster Abbey, and so that was created by sort of in-house by the BBC. But this led the BBC to realise that maybe there was room in the idea of a dedicated department, and that is exactly what happened. And there on the right-hand side, you can see Bernard Wilkie, who was an engineer, and Jack Kine, who was a scenic artist. These other guys that set up the department. It was the first of its kind anywhere in the world. And there you can see the rockets from Quatermass 2 and the Martian, the alien from I think that's Quatermass and the Pit, isn't it?
It is. And you know, to their credit, because I'm a huge Quatermass fan, to their credit, I think the sequence in the original BBC serial,
yes,
where they're watching the Martian hunt, you know, and they did a similar scene in the movie, but the original version in the serial is so much more effective than the subsequent movie version was.
I agree. It's knockout, isn't it? It's breathtaking for its, considering it was made in 1953. It's incredible, but it stands up. You know, even today, it's an amazing piece of work. There's the goodies at the bottom there.
Love that show.
Goodies and the Loch Ness Monster, and of course Blake Seven top left. Yes, of course they made the Liberator, and there I think I'm right in thinking that is Mike Tucker top right there.
With Blue Midget from Red Dwarf, the original shuttlecraft in the pre-Starbug days.
Yeah, absolutely. So I mean, this department was set up in Kendall Avenue in 1954, specifically for Quatermass 2. And it just went from strength to strength, and all of this stuff it was producing, and it's remarkable to think that it came from nowhere, lasted for 49 years, and just made so much stuff. In the early days of Doctor Who, of course, most of the visual effects were farmed out to outside contractors, in most cases Shawcraft models. So the BBC didn't have anything at all to do with visual effects for the first 3 or 4 years of Doctor Who. But then Shawcraft problems started to creep in, and there were issues with Shawcraft's work in some of the early Trant stories. It culminated in the Faceless Ones, which we mentioned just a few minutes ago, which was just kicking off in 1967. Yeah, the matter came to a head in 67 with the Faceless Ones, where there were problems with the satellite model, which wasn't finished. Bulbs blew on it, the wire snapped, and it crashed to the floor and broke. So from Evil of the Daleks onwards in 1967, pretty much all of the visual effects on Doctor Who were then handled by the visual effects department. And then, of course, they really come into their own. That is Matt Irvin there on the left-hand side. And again, I think that's Jack Kine in the striped jumper. Yeah, I'm not sure. I don't recognise this spaceship. Is it? I'm wondering whether it's Colony Frontier in Space. Or is it not Doctor Who at all? I'm not sure on that. Somebody in the chat might know.
I
think it might be Colony.
What do you think it is, Dan?
I'm not sure. I mean, Matt could be right.
What did you say, Matt?
I said it was Colony. I'm pretty sure it might be Colony.
I think it might be more likely Frontier than Colony. TARDIS Travels is saying Frontier. My first thought was Colony, but I think it's Frontier. Yeah. It's not the spaceship on the planet Xarius in front. So I think it's Frontier. Bernard Wilkie. I'm being told by Sabalon Blitz that's Bernard Wilkie on the left. It could be. They both look very, very similar, both Bernard Wilkie and
you've got a couple more Frontiers coming in, so maybe
more Frontiers. We've been told a Draconian ship. Oh, Stephen Braddock, do you know what? I think you spot on. I think it is indeed the Draconian ship. I think you are right.
And Matt Irvine wrote a really good book about the Doctor Who special effects back in the 80s.
Yeah, got that one.
Yeah.
He did. You're quite right. Yeah, a really good book. You can still pick that up relatively cheap on eBay.
Silurian face on the cover.
Yes, that's correct. The Silurian mask, absolutely. It is a cracking piece of work. So yeah, in the 49 years, they made spaceships, they made sets, they made costumes in some cases. There is one of the costumes they made on the right-hand side. I think I'm trying to work out what that is behind is that it almost looks like it might be the Slither from from the Dalek invasion of Earth, but I don't know. It can't be that, surely. But that's definitely
or something like that. It could.
Yeah, could be. To Triffid on the left-hand side. They did, of course, they made lots of props, transporter bracelets in Blake 7, guns, many guns, explosions. Of course, they did all the visual effect explosions. Any explosion you see in Doctor Who, all down to the visual effects department. And, of course, there was lots of this in the 80s, in the JT years. Goo. Do you remember? Every monster... Every monster would leap some form of blue or green goo, and that again was all visual effects department.
Go to them for the goo.
It was
all
cheap.
Goo,
It was flour and water.
Yeah,
all goo and all dry ice as well. They did all the stuff on top of the pops, didn't they?
they did. You're quite right, Dan. Lots and lots of dry ice. So they were very, very versatile. Of course, they would do all the things like the models and the props and things on Tomorrow's World, and they'd make visual effects, display things for them to show on Tomorrow's World how things worked. They did so much stuff. They did the fire on Blue Peter. Do you remember the infamous fire that actually did turn into a fire while the little guides were sitting around singing? Rather poetically, the very last Doctor Who that they ever worked on was the CGI spaceships that were on the Dalek Invasion of Earth DVD. Nick Saint and Clark did the CGI spaceships for the Dalek Invasion of Earth DVD release. And I say poetically because, of course, ironically, sadly, it was the CGI effects that were the nail in the coffin for the visual effects department. It was just simply no longer needed because it was all done on CGI at that point. Mike Tucker, who we saw a few moments ago, he started work at the visual effects department in 1987 on Dragonfire. And when the department closed, as I say, 22 years ago this week, he was the only person of the 22 employees that was kept on. He was kept on as a one-man post-production model unit. That's what it was called. Still in Kendall Avenue, in the next door unit to the old visual effects unit. And he was the only one that was kept on. But yeah, it closed 22 years ago. There you can see the London Evening Standard is the newspaper that broke the news on this day. That it was closing down. Salt cellar spaceships and rubbery robots, yeah, all gone. I think it's rather ironic that they've used a photograph from the Doctor Who and the Daleks movie rather than the BBC. But there you go.
That's really tragic to me because you look at. I always prefer practical effects over.
Yes, of
CGI.
course.
You look even at the first different. You look at the first Star Wars, all practical effects versus all the CGI stuff later on. Practical effects every time. Was the melting face in Dragonfire, that was practical, right?
Oh yeah, totally.
Okay.
To be clear, that one wasn't the BBC visual effects unit. That was Stephen Mansfield and. Oh, the name escapes me. Somebody in the chat will remind me. It's Stephen Mansfield and a female visual effects designer. Sue Moore. Thank you, Dan. Sue Moore. But yes, it was a practical effect. So they were still doing all of those practical effects. Yes, Sabalon Glitz says hair dryers. Quite right, Sabalon Glitz. That's what they did. They made it out of wax and they set hair dryers on it. Mike Tucker continued, as I say, working at the BBC in this post-production model unit, this one-man post, and they created. There we go. They created the Big Ben explosion or destruction, whatever you want to call it, for Aliens of London back in 2005. There is Mike Tucker, his one-man unit, working on this breathtaking.
Back on his grind.
Yeah, absolutely. I still find it amazing that when you actually see this in the program, it's backwards. It's back. They flipped the shot, and so the clock is back to front. It's a mirror image, and so all the numbers are the wrong way round. And nobody notices it because the effect is so incredible that you don't clock that the numbers are all wrong on the clock face. But watch it next time you watch Aliens of London, you'll see that they flipped it in post production. But it's a magnificent model.
I've seen that before. I think that's been explained, and I think that they put it in one of the confidentials as well. They actually
I think they did, Dan.
Flipped it around.
I think they did. The model itself, I don't know whether anybody remembers, the model itself was on display in the very first exhibition at Brighton, the first Doctor Who exhibition back in 2006, I think.
Oh, okay.
And they got this model, and it was just on a turntable that you could see. Just just beautiful. Oh, somebody, thank you, Fly Highlands. You've just pointed out that I made a joke. I said that you don't clock, that the clock is back to front. Didn't even realise I'd made that joke, Fly Highlands. Thank you for pointing that one out. The very final, in effect, I've done it again. In effect, the final effects that the BBC ever produced for Doctor Who. Does anybody know what it was? The very final? As I say, bearing in mind that we're not talking about the visual effects department, which is closed and gone. We're talking about Mike Tucker's own one-man unit.
Idea.
Is it
Anybody
series one?
No, it's series 2. It's series 2. No, not. I'll give about 10 seconds for people in the chats to get it.
Oh,
It
it's
doesn't
not
look like
Love and
anything.
Monsters, is it?
No, it's not. It's bizarre. It's an odd effect, actually. I talked about explosions earlier on. It's an explosion. It's the explosion of the school in School Reunion.
Oh.
So basically, when Mickey does it with the kid.
Correct. It's the big explosion. Well, it's a big explosion when with K9 blows the chemical up, doesn't he? And the whole school goes through. Okay. So it's not the driving through. No, it's not the driving through the window. It's the total explosion.
So in essence, Mike Tucker killed K9 as his last thing.
Yeah, 100%. That's exactly right, Charlotte. Yes, Mike Tucker killed K9.
What a nasty man you are, Mike.
And that was the end of the BBC effect. So he's got himself to blame, I'm afraid.
Hey, Simon, did they also do the effects for the tripods back in the 80s?
Oh, 100%.
Okay.
Yeah. That was the visual effects department again. So they did so much, Gary. And sadly, exactly 22 years ago, they closed their doors. It's very, very sad. And there is a news story, and it was in other newspapers as well. Other newspapers broke the story. It was, and look at this. This is to say the London Evening Standard. Look at the size of the story. So this was big news back in the day.
Yeah.
It was big news.
I suppose
I just couldn't understand.
Yeah.
It was quite unique for like the BBC to have this.
Charlotte, it was totally unique. It was.
If you, I can't think of like an ITV or anybody else who would
need
this.
No.
Because like the BBC at one point had quite a lot of genre stuff on, so your typical like costume department couldn't do that. You needed
a dedicated department.
So it was quite forward thinking actually.
You're right.
For them to do this.
You're right. Nobody else had one. A lot of film companies didn't have them in those days. They were production companies out there that were dedicated to visual effects. But the BBC really was groundbreaking, and I say it was the first of its kind in the world. Sadly, to a large extent, it really bit the bullet because of the Director General John Burt. In the late 90s going through into the early 2000s. John Burt, he introduced 2 years before, in 2001, he introduced what he called a scheme called Producer's Choice. And what this meant, and to a large extent, it was the nail in the coffin for the BBC, because also for their studios, because basically what it meant is that any producer could use an in-house BBC facility, or if they wanted to, they could go outside the BBC and they could use an outside contractor. And so as a result, that's what ultimately diluted the BBC down. It's John Burt's fault, in inverted commas, that the BBC has watered down to the extent it has. It maybe would have happened anyway. Maybe it was inevitable. But that brought it about because
enough for my liking.
it basically meant that producers could go anywhere they liked for their stuff, and so the BBC was redundant. Their own departments were redundant. Literally, the BBC sort of ate itself, sadly. So there we go. Anyway, moving on. As one door closes at the BBC Visual Effects Department, another door opens, and this is a wonderful one because we're actually spinning back a little bit from 2003. We're going back to 1974, but it's still linked to the Visual Effects Department because yesterday, Come on, yesterday. There we go. You can see it's there on the poster on the right-hand side. The 10th of April. Yesterday was the grand opening. Today, the 10th of April, was the first full official opening of the Doctor Who exhibition in Blackpool. And of course, it was opened by John Pertwee and Elizabeth Sladen, that you can see there proudly front and center in that shot. Sun is shining. Look at the crowds. This must have just been such an exciting day. And this took place, as I say, back in 1974, 51 years ago. You can see Agador. Can you make out Agador just there on the left-hand side, the Agador statue?
Oh, yeah.
Can you got him, Matt?
Yeah, right against the wall.
Correct.
By the Daleks, yeah.
I suspect, Matt, he probably didn't even survive the end of the day because he was made of polystyrene. I have a horror.
That's
Everybody
the
would have
story,
picked a piece.
unless I'm mistaken, that's the story that was screening when this event was on, the Monster of
Gary,
Peladon.
you're good. You're good. Yeah, it was midway through the Monster of Peladon. Episode 3 had just aired of the Monster of Peladon at this point when this was open. So yeah, Gary, the Agador statue was just absolutely couldn't have been hotter at that point because it was on telly at that exact time.
Great.
Happy days. And look how many people are there. Look how many people. The Doctor Who was just
when you said
popular.
that about John Pertwee and Elizabeth Sladen looking really proud, they do, don't they? They look ecstatic, in fact, and the crowd. I mean, it's not just the fact there's so many of them; it's that everybody looks so pleased to see them. It's joyous.
Yeah, look at
Oh
that.
my gosh!
Yeah, I mean, can you imagine that happening today, Gary? I'm not sure as I can.
I mean, you couldn't. They weren't giving autographs, right?
Keep your distance.
They
would. I think they would have been. I think they would have given out autographs.
Oh, really? Okay.
I think they would have signed a few. What they wouldn't have done, Gary, is they wouldn't have done what they do these days, where they'd all sit behind a desk and everybody would be lined up. No, people would. What used to happen? I don't know what it was like in America, but in Britain in those days, you had an autograph book, and you would literally, and it was just. Do you remember? It was just a little thin book with coloured pages in. Do you remember? And you just hand that over, and you'd be lucky if the star would just about scribble on one page for you, and that would have been. So I think they'd have done a handful of those, Gary, while they had the chance.
Was this? Could I ask Simon? Do you know? Was this one of the Elizabeth Sladen's first big public appearances?
It's I'm really glad you asked that because
I didn't. Okay.
Yes, it was. This was Elizabeth Sladen's first major public appearance.
That wasn't arranged, everybody. That was not set up when I asked him.
She'd obviously been on telly for a while by this point. She'd been going for she'd been on screen for around about 4 months at this point. She'd started her first on screen appearance had been in December 1973. So she'd been on telly for about 4 months as Sarah. But yeah, this was her first major appearance. But rather poetically, it was John Pertwee's very final public appearance as the Doctor before he died in inverted commas at the end of the Planet of the Spiders. So this was the very final appearance of John Pertwee as the Doctor while he was still playing the Doctor on television. And there they were cutting the Dalek cake. Rather nicely, this ties in brilliantly with the BBC visual effects department because this all came about. The origins of Blackpool date back to 1972 with the BBC Special Effects exhibition, which had been at London Science Museum, and that was specifically a BBC visual effects exhibition. And so it had got some Doctor Who in there, but it had got loads of other stuff in as well. It wasn't just Doctor Who, but Doctor Who was very much the showpiece of it. And they'd got a TARDIS exterior there. They got a TARDIS interior, the console room as well. Now, Lord Bath of Longleat went to that particular exhibition at the Science Museum. And that's what brought about the Longleat exhibition, which you will be pleased to know opened exactly 52 years ago. Next week, in 1973, it opened at Easter in 1973. As a result of Longleat, which was just phenomenally successful, that's why exactly 1 year later, we had Blackpool
Just a
opening as
year.
well. So just 1 year. Longleat was successful enough after its first season for them to want to open the second one at Blackpool a year later. And as I say, both of them stem back just to 1972. So you had the Science Museum exhibition in 72, Longleat in 73, Blackpool in 74. So again, it just goes to show how popular Doctor Who was at this point. And the TARDIS that was inside the Blackpool exhibition was the TARDIS console and console room from the Science Museum. So that's what happened. They moved everything sort of pretty much lock, stock and barrel.
Looking at the picture we've now got on screen there, the close-up of John and Liz, and the TARDIS behind them there. I mean, it was some years later when I went, so it looked kind of the same but different. But I'm looking at the TARDIS, and it was far, far larger than the actual BBC prop was. And it seemed, as when I went, I think I would have been about 3, it seemed impossibly huge, like the slab from 2001. It was huge. But I've just noticed underneath, if you notice on the struts at the side of the box, cutting in to a really crude version of the diamond logo, Matt, appalling use of typography, but cutting across there is like a gap, which obviously would have been, that was where the actual door was. But the Ncuti Gatwa Whittaker TARDIS has got that line cut into it, and I've often wondered why they've put that notch in the current prop. I wonder if it isn't a little cheeky kiss back to this box that was the entrance to the Blackpool exhibition.
I'm going to have a look at
I don't think
Whittaker's TARDIS again.
To be honest,
no, I don't either. But I'd like to think it's my way of, but it could be my way of living with it. You see, Max, it's always got on my bloody nerves, to be truthful. If they've done it as a nod to this, I'll allow it. I've got some fond memories of Blackpool. I only ever went twice, and it looked a lot more like this when I went. So it was slightly less loved, shall we say. A lot fewer people were kicking around as well, and a couple more doctors. But it stayed open. How long did it stay open for, Simon?
Till around about mid-80s. I think it was 85, 86 that it closed down. Somebody will probably tell me the exact date in the chat, but it was around about 85, 86. And it closed down so suddenly. Nobody knew it was closing down. It just didn't reopen. And people who were sort of living in Blackpool or near Blackpool have sort of told stories about how they would go past it, because obviously, Gary, it was closed during the off season. It would be closed. It would only be open during the sort of the spring. It usually opened, and Longleat was the same. They'd usually open round about Easter and then close normally about September, October, after the illuminations switch on. And so the rest of the time it was empty. And of course, what they were doing, Charlotte, at that point is they'd go in and they'd redo all of the exhibits, and they'd put all the new stuff in, take the old stuff out. So for 6 months, it'd sort of be closed while they renovated it up. Well, of course, in 85, I think it was 85 it closed. I'm confident it was. It didn't reopen, and people would walk past it and just see stuff coming out and going into skips. I mean, I kid you not with this. It's heartbreaking. It literally went in skips.
Especially as, like, look at those pictures. It was open with such fanfare and love, and look at the crowds, and then it sort of just got slowly then taken apart and sort of left.
Heartbreaking, but it was still hugely popular right up to the end, Charlotte. It was hugely popular still, and for whatever reason, I think it was something to do with the lease on the building. Again, same as the one in Cardiff. I think the lease on the building just came up, as I recall, and they just couldn't. There we go. Yeah, in 1985. It was when it closed, and as I say, I think some people did actually manage to rescue some stuff from it. I seem to think that the console itself is gone. The console from Longleat, as I recall, exists.
One of them definitely exists.
Or is it the Blackpool one that exists? Again, somebody might give me the full information. There's definitely at least one of them exists.
I believe it's the Blackpool one that exists. I think that John told me that.
I think you're right, actually. I'm correcting myself. I think you're actually right, Dan. I think it is Blackpool that exists.
Could be wrong.
Anyway, whatever. It was all chucked in a skip. Everything was just going into a skip. I mean, it's just doesn't even bear thinking about. And that's how valuable props were lost. Things like, I think, the sand miner model from the Robots of Death went at this point into a skip.
Okay.
Just doesn't bear
Whatever
thinking about.
became of Agador, I think that's the question that we're still going to have sort of banging around from side to side in our heads. So was this the last time that Agador was sighted? That's what we need to know, isn't it?
They need to do a special feature on the season 11 set about that. Whatever happened.
I agree. Good point, Gary. If anybody's watching from the Blu-ray team, yeah, we need a full documentary.
Scott Goodman in the live chat watching on YouTube, Thomas Seymour could own that particular console.
Scott. Tantalizing information. Right, Thomas Seymour, if you are watching this, please get in touch with us.
Get in touch.
We want you on the show. We will get you on the show to talk about this.
We'll go round. We'll film with him. Whether you want to or
Building reports.
If anybody knows Thomas, Scott, if you know Thomas, send him our way. Absolutely. It would be fabulous to get Thomas on the show to talk about the console. So there we go. So as I say, yeah, very, very, very happy birthday today. As I say, yesterday it kind of had its official opening, but today was the day it was opened to the public in 1974.
What a
happy days.
A great day. Fabulous diary as always, Simon. Something for everybody there.
Lots and lots of fun. So happy birthday to all those things.
I was just thinking, Simon, if there's people out there watching or listening while they're doing something else, if there's people out there who are watching and interacting, let us know if you were there, by all means, because some of the people who were there, it's less than 50 years ago. Some of the teenagers,
absolutely,
in their 20s, it's quite possible they're out there. They're watching, interacting in some way, or active in the community. Get in touch and let us know.
Get in touch with us. Maybe one of these days we'll do a dedicated show on Blackpool or Longleat or both, or just exhibitions generally. That'd be fun, wouldn't it?
We have. There are several. To be fair, there are several editions of the Type 40 podcast.
There are.
Where we do talk about Longleat and Blackpool at length, and with our guests John Collier and Alex Storer. They're the two guys behind those incredible ebooks celebrating those exhibitions, which you contributed to the Longleat one, didn't you, Simon?
I contributed to both of them, the Blackpool one and the Longleat one, and they're still available out there. They're completely free to download. As you say, John Collier and Alex Storer worked on them. They're completely free to download. Brilliant books. So if you are interested in Blackpool and Longleat, go searching for them. They're well worth downloading. I think the first one was called Blackpool Remembered. If you Google it, you'll find them.
And then there was Longing for Longleat as well. You can hit the playlists, and we'll put the links actually in the description of the video so people can go and hit them up and relive some of those. And we're going to bring John and Alex back again in the not too distant future, because of course the print edition is due out soon. No print edition of the Doctor Who diary yet, Simon, but we live in hope.
One of these days.
Thank you so much for putting it together for us yet again. What a fabulous set of entries there. Great memories, whether we were there or not. Thank you again, Simon.
You're welcome.
and there's more where that came from, right, John? Yeah, no. Can you ever have too much nostalgia, Gary?
No, it's not. That's impossible.
Impossible.
It's impossible.
I'm glad you've said that, because I was just thinking another couple of minutes worth is not going to hurt anyone, is it? It's time for the Type 40 live ad break. The stuff you pestered your parents for, maybe, and never got. Maybe you got lucky and you got what you asked for. I don't know. And more besides in another blast through telly times past. We'll be back in a couple of minutes.
Hey guys, come look at this!
Step into another dimension and discover the new Seen It Doctor Who edition, a DVD game that's bigger on the inside, with a galaxy of real Doctor Who clips that test your knowledge, trivia questions, and puzzlers from the first 3 series, including
The Evolution of the Daleks!
Seen It Doctor Who edition, now available on Planet Earth.
Your call is important to us. Please press hash to continue. Your call has been placed in queue.
Our call center is now closed.
That'll be short wait. Your call is important to us. Your call is important to us.
ANZ, Australia's best call centre. Now conveniently open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
Cybermen, Daleks, Weeping Angels, and of course, the Doctor. Collect them all with this 50th anniversary Doctor Who figurine collection. Officially approved, each figurine is cast in metallic resin and hand-painted to capture every detail. Get the Doctor, Davros, and the first 2 magazines for the amazing introductory price of $14.95 with free shipping. Order now at dw-figurines.com. That's dw-figurines.com.
Imagine a perfect white. Imagine a white that covers beautifully. Why imagine? ICI have created a white with molecules that lock together to bring you a perfect finish. The light up your life white of Dulux. Silk white, matte white. Trust Dulux to cover beautifully.
Welcome back to your Type 40 Live, covering the future, the present, and the past of all things Doctor Who, setting you up for the big season premiere at the weekend with a big Who here. The panel are back, all better now, I think. I hope we're going to put some smiles on some faces however we can. Thank you, Liz. She's in it as well. We're going to put some smiles back on faces here in front of a live chat to keep those comments coming, everybody. Okay, so who have we got? All hands on deck. Yeah. So Wes, where are we? Where are we? Yes. So I'm Dan. This is Charlotte. That's Gary. That's Simon. And that's Matt. And yeah, we've been getting stuck into all things Doctor Who. Oh, from T-shirts to exhibitions to birthdays. Where could it possibly go next, Gary?
You know what? I think I would love to get one of those Seen It games, but where they use only clips from missing episodes. That would be great.
Oh, and just send it to it. Hello, Ian, if you're out there. Send it to Ian Levine.
There you go.
Okay, yes. So this is Type 40 Live. Yes, on where are we? Across Rumble, X, YouTube, and Facebook too. We've got people commenting in on all this nonsense as well. Believe it or not, I can't quite believe our luck. Philip Royce says, "I know what happened to the prop." Agador. Agador.
Oh,
very
good.
Yeah.
Agador, push pineapple in the skip. Very good.
Dad, you've not been on enough all-inclusive holidays.
I think somebody's just out dad joked me. I don't know what to say. I think I'm going to have to.
I'm surprised Charlotte even got that one.
Brilliant.
I got forced onto many mini discos. All those dance routines.
Oh dear! Yes, we're gonna kick up some repressed memories here of nightmare discos.
Console was sold at Bonhams in 2010.
Wow,
interesting.
Only 15 years ago.
Definitely, I'd definitely like to know more about that. If anybody knows more about that, do please get in touch with us because I'd love to do a follow up on what happened to the consoles.
So yeah, that would be a laugh. Happy days, says TARDIS Travels. Absolutely. More happy days coming right up just for you, TARDIS Travels, and everybody else, of course, in just 2 days' time, the 12th of April, 2025. Doctor Who's back on the TV, everybody. I can't quite believe it's here already. It doesn't seem that long since they announced the date, gave us those episode titles after so much silence, so much silliness. Matt, silly season this year was extraordinary, even by Doctor Who fandom's standards. But, it's time that the fun stops because Doctor Who itself is back with this opening episode, The Robot Revolution, there by Russell T. Davies, Saturday, the 12th of April, 2025, 6:50 p.m. on BBC One. So, is it still tea time at 6:50? I think it probably depends on how late you have your tea. doesn't it? That's what it is. They had the premiere just last week. That looked fun. It looked smaller scale than the one before, but it still looked fun. And of course, that was also the time that the Radio Times, the most distinguished, bloody expensive TV listings magazine in Britain, cut the ribbon, I suppose you could say, albeit a week early for whatever reason. They got the cover. They got an interview with the new companion, Radha Sethu, Belinda herself, and the assurance too that there would be more come the next edition. And sure enough, this Tuesday's number contains the showrunner's own walk through the whole season, Simon. Doctor Who's 41st season, no less, in this gaming special, surrounded by other bits and pieces about other stuff you don't care about. But it says there on the cover, Doctor Who, Russell T Davies' exclusive guide to the new series. And how could we not be all over that? There's Pedro Pascal, Matt, because we're not sick of the sight of him, are we?
No, and not her either.
I can't remember her name, but she was in
Game of Thrones
as well, wasn't she? Yeah. Again, weird show. Didn't like that very much at all.
Well, she's a weird child. That's for sure.
She's a weird child, is she?
Yes. Yeah.
I can't remember her name now. Bella Ramsey.
I think you're misgendering her, by the way.
I don't
know who any of you are talking about. It's way over my head.
Me too, Simon.
Sister name's Bella Ramsey here. I don't know. Don't care. What a babe! Oh, we've got a fan there in Garbage. What a babe! So yeah, she's obviously very popular with some people. So
oh my God!
They're talking about Pedro Pascal.
Wash your eyes out, mate.
Looks like it.
Garbage. Are you talking about the companion in Doctor Who or the woman that was
No, he was talking about Pedro Pascal.
There he is. He's got his eye
He
on
likes
you.
moustaches.
There's lots of Doctor Who coverage in this edition of the Radio Times with mild spoilers and teases. Considering it was last week that they got the cover, there's actually far, far more in this issue. And yeah, we're not going to cover it all, Simon. I wouldn't do that to you. But I thought we had to look at some of this. So it ran only from page 20 to 23. Russell T Davies' exclusive guide to the thrilling new series From Bone Beasts to Killer Cartoons. It promises. That's very creative and quite dialed back there in the Radio Times on the contents page. Dig a little deeper, and we've got an introduction there which picks it out as number one highlight for the week of the 12th to the 18th of April 2025.
Really?
New companion Belinda takes an unexpected trip and needs the help of the Doctor to get back home in an adventure filled with robot-related threat. Robot-related threat. Sounds.
Yeah, I find the title, The Robot Revolution, a bit frustrating because that's from the Robots of Death, isn't it? So I'm a bit frustrated that we're sort of tying. Yeah, it's the Robot Revolution. That's what is in the Robots of Death, and the Doctor says there's a robot revolution going on out there.
Every time I hear the phrase, I think of that game with the magnets where the robot would stand. There'd be a model of a plastic robot in the middle.
Yes,
and he was on a silver base, and he would rotate around and point.
Yes.
To
what was that called? That wasn't the Robot Revolution. What was it? Somebody in chat will tell us that. I remember that game, Dan.
I haven't imagined that game then.
No. You haven't imagined it. I remember it well. But I can't. Somebody, please, in the chat, tell us what that was called.
I tell you what, shoot, you can't work that out. There's no sweat rings under his armpits there, are there? Yes.
Wow.
I think he only wears white t-shirts once and then throws them away.
Then the next
magic robot, the magic robot, Dan.
Magic
that's what
robot,
it was.
That's it.
Thank you, people in the chat.
Oh, fans of The Last of Us here in the live chat. That show is awesome. I liked a couple of the episodes, but I've just never been tempted to go. And he or she, whoever they are, I thought they were fine, but it's just not my kind of show. I got bored with zombies. That's the truth of the matter. Just got bored with zombies. Greetings and salutations all, says the Peter Venkman fan site who's joined us late. We've got Fly Highland in the live chat as well. Sally Wagenblatt is here too. Luke's still kicking around, as well as is Tom from T-Dwarf Productions, who simply adds, "We are the robots." Speak for yourself. Okay, so yes, dig a little deeper, flip a few more pages, and you'll see there's a generous feature here again. Doctor Who Saturday 6:50 BBC One, 8 a.m. iPlayer. See, even Radio Times is going with the iPlayer thing. And there's another picture of Shooty in.
You know, except for the skirt, the full picture, that's actually a nice picture where she's sitting on the upper level. I mean,
they're both nice pictures.
Cool
Yeah.
picture,
I mean, when I say, I don't want to keep going on about this skirt because we've been back to it so often. But to me, the person who told me that it's all about the length and all about the pleat, that is clear. that is clearly over his knee.
Yeah, that's not a kilt.
As it was explained to me, a kilt is above the knee,
correct,
never below the knee.
Correct.
So that's a skirt.
It's a skirt. It is a skirt. It is. Let's be clear about this. It's a skirt.
They've popped Verada in some very nicely fitted trousers. Yes. She looks
down, boy.
Stunning as ever. Oh, came unstuck the other day on that front. Yes, smouldering into the screen. But I do love these pictures, and even the TARDIS set sort of looks okay as well when adorned with.
Yes,
with such femininity. No, but seriously, I think the TARDIS looks really great in these shots too, Gary. And I like to see pictures that I've not seen before. This is what the Radio Times used to do. It's what it should always do, and what DWM should do.
You know, I mean, I really hope that at some point they really do, go more into kind of what's in this version of the TARDIS rather than just this kind of stark room. It seems
nice,
like. I'd like to see kind of like what they used to do with, Matt and Peter.
It still feels that the TARDIS console room still feels like showboating to me. It still feels like, we've got a massive space. And so instead of making it look interesting, we're just going to make it look massive to show it off. And so I'm disappointed that in season 2, they haven't adorned it more. Because you're right, Dan, with some adornment, it does work better.
I think the problem is,
I
think the problem is, and like that picture shows they've not used the levels at all.
Mm-hmm.
A good point.
Yeah.
The fact, because that picture shows that you could have fun of Shooty being on the top and her being the bottom, or like they've got in that picture, you could have them sort of playing with that space. And New Who, I think, has actually done that quite good in the past with the TARDIS sets because they've had that bigger space, because they've had a bit more sort of money in that regard than Classic ever did.
That's right.
And I just find it amazing that they've spent like I said, they've got this massive set. It's clearly quite a bit of money has gone into this thing. And they just seem to want to have a couple of shots a series of him stood by the console. I don't understand it personally.
Yeah.
Very, very, very strange. Also, a feature of this page is a column by Russell T. Davies here. Welcome aboard, Belinda Chandra, he says, and welcome, faithful viewers, young and old. Blimey, young? You're open, aren't you, mate? He says that, but he does say, I mean, I agree with everything he says here, but again, it's the same problem. It's too late. He's right. The arrival of a new companion in Doctor Who is a chance for the whole show to reset, to open those doors wide for one and all. He's absolutely right about all of this. But this is what we needed last year. This seeming reset of real back to basics Doctor Who rather than trying to be too clever. And he goes on to say, it was a delight to welcome Verada Sethu as Belinda onto the TARDIS. She dazzled last year as Monday Flynn, and we loved her so much. I quickly rewrote things so she could return. There are more returns in store. Oh dear, I don't like the sound of it. So no Sutek. Don't worry if you're missing Millie Gibson's wonderful Ruby Sunday, Charlotte, because she's coming back in a story the likes of which we've never told before.
Not again.
I know, but this is more interesting. When Ruby and Belinda meet, I promise you, sparks will fly.
I'm interested now.
Are they meeting in a boxing ring, and is jelly involved at all? But no, I mean, sincerely though, if they're going to dig into the characters and put people at odds with one another, that could also be interesting, because last year it was all a bit of a love-in, wasn't it? It was all a bit sickening. I think that could be quite nice, like a Sarah Jane and Rose kind of dynamic. That could work, Charlotte.
I was about to say that was so much fun when you had those two together, because you had that sort of bit like the Sarah thinking, oh, I've been here, I know it, like I'm the expert. And then you had Rose basically acting like a teenager, being like, no, I know better. And you had that dynamic. And Ruby, she was too nice, honestly. She was too, everything's good and I'm happy and nice. And she needed a bit of grit. And I'm hoping maybe she gets that then if there's possibly a cat fight or something between the two of them.
If they just don't see eye to eye, or one feels threatened by the other, or that clash of personalities, anything would add a little bit of colour and would make the characters seem more real. Because, you know, spoilers, women don't get on. Yeah, but worked with a load of women. I have several times. No, in all seriousness, Gary's laughing because he knows it's true. In all seriousness, though, this series does drastically need some sort of conflict to make it feel real again. And it's adversity and differences and overcoming differences that actually brings people together. So how far they can possibly take that in 8 episodes, though, Matt?
I'm extremely enthusiastic.
Oh dear. Well, maybe even Russell cannot bring Matt back there from the brink. He does finish off by saying, "Let me lead you through the stories to come," with a scattering of spoilers, a few sly hints, and some tantalizing sleight of hand. He means bullshit, everybody, because for the next 8 weeks, the mantra is going to be "Get Belinda home." I really like that idea. I like that sort of driving thrust of the overall story. Something simple. They've only got 8 episodes, Charlotte, so they can't go anywhere deeper, in all sincerity, can they?
Well, no, and I think Russell last year felt like he was way too distracted by things that he shouldn't have been so preoccupied with, and he should have just been concentrating on solid character work and solid sort of, if I'm setting something up, I need to pay it off at the end. The whole sort of Ruby special, there's Snow, her mum, and then it was nothing. The Susan constant hints, hint, and then it wasn't the Susan that we all were led to believe it was going to be. And I agree with you. Hopefully having a new companion, hopefully sort of not having to do so much of the introductory sort of episodes and having that on your plate has allowed Russell to sort of zone in. And that's what I'm really hoping. But the problem is that we've said this, you don't know what you're going to get right now with Russell. And I think that's the overhanging sort of issue. We don't know what quality. And that's what we need right now. We need quality back in the room with the writing.
We do indeed. You're looking forward to Saturday, Charlotte, because you and I were going to be getting together to talk about this, aren't we? Not long afterwards. Are you looking forward to it, or is it more a case you can't wait till it's over, or are you able to sort of isolate all the noise and all of this nonsense and just to focus and sit down in front of the TV for 45 minutes?
No, I think I want to sit down and just see what this new run gives me. I want to sort of, I'm open for it to impress me. I'm hoping it does impress me, especially as if this is possibly the last 2 we're going to get for a while because of all...
It does seem that way.
I don't want it to be gone, possibly, or for this to be this series and for me to go afterwards, well, that were all right. I want there to be some moments that I think, God, that's good. Or episodes or just something that I can go, do you know what? It was a rocky road, but at least in that second series, they actually pulled it together a little bit. So I do have to go, though. I've just got knocks to be told, so I do have to go.
Thank you very much. As always, Charlotte, I'll see you on Saturday on the other side of all of this, whatever it's going to be. Queen Bee, Belinda, is trapped on her own planet with one of its citizens. On her own planet? What does that mean? Now, this has intrigued me because I read this caption and I haven't read ahead because I don't read reviews. I know there are reviews out there, everybody, and I don't read them because I like to come with my opinions, not someone else's. So I don't know what's been said elsewhere, but obviously this is stuff that Russell's said and put out there. So I'm happy to look at this. But it does make me wonder because for quite a long time now, we have been bemoaning, yourself as well, Matt. One of the reasons why I think we've all got a little bored, and Charlotte's mentioned this too, is that it's been a succession of companions from Earth, from contemporary Earth. It sounds to me, Belinda is trapped on her own planet. So Belinda may not be from Earth after all, but she's been living on the Earth. So this sounds like it could be an inverse of Leela, whereby Leela was human, was from Earth, but she was living with aliens. So is this actually...
You're way overthinking, Dad.
I don't see it.
I actually know the answer to this, but because I don't
you've read the reviews. Okay.
No spoilers.
I
Matt.
have.
No
I'm
spoilers.
sorry, but that's what I'm just saying. I just said you're giving way too much credit.
I actually think
a reasonable thing to
better.
I'm gonna guess that Dan makes that correlation because he really wants an episode where Virata Sethi was dressed like Leela. So do I.
That would be cool. But I'm a modern man. No, in all sincerity, I'm looking for story. I'm looking for character. I'm looking for purpose. I'm looking for something different. And although she's dressed very differently, I mean, that's a very eye-catching coat. I don't want a companion who is going to be either easily won around. I like the idea that she and the Doctor are at odds with one another. I don't want that to be fixed within 10 minutes. For example, in the way that the crew of the Voyager and the McKee put aside all their differences within 45 minutes of the pilot. Yeah. I want that, if not antagonism, then certainly that mistrust to hopefully carry through, because it builds character. Yeah. But if there's some sort of backstory to her that isn't as simple as it looks, in that she's a nurse who gets taken away to another world or whatever, I'd appreciate that a lot more, and I think the children would enjoy that too. Watch the character sort of find out more about herself as the story goes on, but by the sounds of it, that may not be where it goes.
What do you think of the robot design there?
Fabulous. Not original, but it's clearly a riff on sort of Fallout and various kind of Pixar style films. But I like all that stuff.
It looks like Colossus meets an M&M.
Yeah, exactly. Fantastic.
I like the retro. I like the retro gun. I like the little retro gun that on the right, just at the edge of the picture. I guess that's a gun. It looks like a gun, but it looks like a little 50s type of ray gun there. That looks kind of cool.
Yeah, I think we've seen them firing as well and creating kind of negatives, kind of like an extermination effect, really. Jesus Christ, Dan, says Luke. What did I say? What did I say? This was 5 or 6 minutes ago. What on earth did I say? Oh no, I can't remember what I said. What did I say? He was trying to be clever, says Demorpin. Oh, is that me as well?
I don't know.
Colin Baker is looking kind of fashionable now. This is the Peter Venkman site. Is he?
A bit of an overreach.
God help you, says Lee Smith. Good luck reviewing it, says TARDIS Travels. Owl Hatch says your enthusiasm is too much. I'm sorry for bothering you, Owl Hatch. Do you mean mine?
All enthusiasm is
maybe that was me. My enthusiasm.
I haven't seen this, Owl Hatch, and neither have you. So I'm pretty open, and I'll always be as open and as generous as I can be to Doctor Who. This is my favourite TV show, and that's how it is. So that's why I've read these previews as well here. So the article does carry on there. We've got a preview here from Russell T Davies. Yes, it's been directed by Peter Hoare. Oh God, sorry, Peter, if I haven't pronounced that. It can't be pronounced how it looks. Can it, Simon?
After you're on your own, I haven't got a clue.
Yeah, Peter, let us know how your name's pronounced, buddy. And yes, so as part of this preview, Russell says on her 16th birthday, Belinda's boyfriend arranged for a star to be named after her. What a simp! But 17 years later, the robots from that star have come to find their queen and take her home. That's just the start for Belinda as she's taken to the planet Miss Belinda Chandra. One, to meet the citizens, the Miss Belinda Chandra kind, and their robots. the Miss Belinda Chandra robots. God, that's going to get old, isn't it?
Oh, I'm
Yes,
bored
you're
already.
right. It's a mad old world. I can see what he's doing now, and I think this is probably what Matt was trying to tell me about earlier on.
Yeah, I don't know. I was like, why are you reading that, Dan? You've just totally spoiled and ruined what you were thinking.
Yeah, but as I say, this is Russell's preview, specifically Russell's preview. So this is fine. This is stuff he's happy for us to know. But he says, yes, you're right. It's a mad old world, but things soon turn serious. This is what we want. We want a bit of lightness, and then we want the shades of grey. We want the darkness, and then it will feel like the Doctor Who universe when people are dying, rebels are fighting back, and a terrifying wedding is being arranged. Belinda's trapped in the middle of a hulking red robots, an evil AI generator, rocket ships, laser battles, and has a funny little friend called Scoot. And this has got the Moxa Balhoun written all over it, isn't it? The court historian, a man who speaks in a very strange pattern that might hold the clue to her escape. There we are. The Doctor's got problems of his own, though. If he can save Belinda from this madhouse, their journey together is only beginning, because something in the universe is going very, very wrong. That's quite subtle for Russell, isn't it? I like the sound. This doesn't sound like anything that's going to frighten the horses, anything revolutionary, funny enough, does it, Gary? It sounds like standard Doctor Who fare. And in my view, it's exactly the kind of story that the series needs to tell to kind of bring people back.
You know, it'll probably be focused on Verada, just kind of like Rose was focused on Billy, you know, to introduce her. But I think based on this description, I can anticipate my coming to love Miss Belinda Chandra as much as I adore Mavity. So, but no, I mean, it looks like it's going to be like basically kind of like just a, you know, fun introductory thing. But it, you know, and the arc, I guess, right, of Get Her Home.
See, one of my favorite episodes is Smith and Jones from 2007, and if it's got that kind of that kind of vibe, you know, that's that's 18 years ago, Simon. You know, so if it's got that kind of feel to it,
but yeah, I love that. I love that intro. It's and Scott's right. If it's the right sort of story to introduce a companion, and that is what you need. You need the right story to kick a companion off. I always think, you've just got to do something that doesn't overshadow the companion, gives them their limelight, but is still interesting enough. It's always a tough call. Particularly for the modern series, because of course back in the day, we were talking about Elizabeth Sladen having not long started off in the series when the Blackpool Exhibition opened, and that was the Time Warrior. And so you got 4 episodes there to establish a character, but now you've only got in the equivalent of 2 episodes. You've got 1 50-minute slice in which to establish a character. So it's always a tougher one to get right, I think, in the modern series than it was in the classic series.
The companion is the audience identification figure.
Yes.
Even now, after 60 years, that's not changed. And if it isn't broke, why would they fix it?
Yeah, except I think this is, and we won't. I'm not suggesting we go over old ground, but this is where I think with the Doctor, they've tried actually to make the Doctor the audience character, the character that the audience will react to and relate to, with the Ncuti Gatwa Doctor, I mean. And I think that's possibly where they went wrong. You're right, Dan. It needs to be the companion always.
The article does continue at great length, Simon. Yes, Russell does deliver previews of all 8 episodes. I won't put you through any of that. We'll
still my beating heart.
We'll save those. We'll save those for another time as the weeks tick by on this season of Doctor Who, and we'll get walked through it by Russell T Davies and see whether he delivers on any of the subtleties and the hype that he's promising. I'd say sometimes he does, sometimes he doesn't. Historically, last year, as I say, I always say this, there was plenty that I did enjoy last year, and several episodes I felt were very, very strong, marred by just 1 or 2 things, and there were a couple of absolute belters. So I'm hoping that there's going to be some really good stuff in season 2, because it does look to me like it's considerably better. There's a full-length article here, full preview. And the way that this is sort of review from the Radio Times, I think. So I'm not going to be looking at that. That's by the writer, David Brown. He's sort of to talk you into the story, and I think gives his own spin on it with that artwork that we're used to seeing absolutely everywhere already. And then the standard listings page, as you always get with these things. It's no different in the Radio Times to any other listings magazine. There it is. There's the box out. Following the final of Gladiators with Bradley Walsh. Remember him, Gary?
I think I've always been a big fan of Bradley Walsh. I mean, even before Doctor Who, I mean, I loved him in Law and Order UK and everything. So I love Bradley.
Yeah, he's a fun actor, totally wasted in Doctor Who, and it gives you the rundown again, pretty much what Russell's just said, and the cast list. Nobody I recognise there, because I haven't really paid too much attention to the cast list. Oh, I do recognise one name, Belinda Owusu. She used to be in EastEnders. She used to play Denise's younger daughter, but that's been 10, 15 years ago now. So she's probably obviously be a lot older now. So I'm going to recognise her as the receptionist. Okay, that doesn't sound like a Time Lord name. I suppose we'll find out. We'll find out on Saturday. That's followed then by Doctor Who Unleashed on BBC Three, presented by this guy again, Stephen Powell. If you think I sound enthusiastic, Owl Hatch, you should check out Stefan here. But then again, I suppose he is paid very, very well. So that's Doctor Who Unleashed at 7:35. Again, 1 of 8, making up series 2. Oh, they've gone seasons with Doctor Who, but it's series with Doctor Who Unleashed. How strange. And the write-up says, behind the scenes of the sci-fi series, as the Doctor is joined by new companion Belinda. So that's all you get there. And it's repeated. This is a curious thing, because it's repeated
What's the running time on that?
the following night. These, just half an hour on Doctor Who Unleashed now.
Okay, half an hour. Gosh, okay. Well, the last one's like 15 minutes, weren't they?
No, I think they were 30 minutes.
No, they were half an hour as well. But the original sort of incarnation of this show, Doctor Who Confidential, they kind of ruined it by taking it from 30 minutes to 50.
Ah, okay.
They've dialed back on it. But I didn't really see many of these last time. Hands up. No, I didn't. I just forgot about it completely.
I'm thinking of the cut downs. That's what I'm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have to be honest. I found the Unleashed just to be unwatchable. The bits I saw were just awful.
What do you think?
It's like
half an hour too long, wasn't it?
I think
Confidential was good, wasn't it? It was very much on mission, but something about this just didn't seem to work.
I think there were a number of problems with it. I think part of the problem was it seemed very, very childish and very simplistic. And basic in comparison with Confidential, which seemed to actually talk at the audience rather than down to the audience. And the other thing that I just found excruciating was it just seemed to be being used as a mouthpiece to justify whatever, even if it was the tiniest woke elements of the episode, even if we would say no, that episode wasn't particularly woke, they would just use Unleashed to just extrapolate one comment just to make sure we absolutely,
wasn't it? Explain the whole episode.
Yeah, to make sure we absolutely got no doubt whatsoever that it was a woke episode, even if you thought it wasn't. And it's just like, oh, come on, you've just shot yourselves in the foot now. So that's why I didn't like it. I stopped watching them.
You can see behind the curtain too much, can't you? And I suppose when we're looking at those sort of ideologies, which they think they're being really subtle about.
Yes.
Yeah.
You don't always need them explaining, do you, Dan? Sometimes it's less is more.
Oh, God. Russell T. Davies, Unleashed, says Stephen Braddock.
Zip.
Unleashed is okay, says TARDIS Travels. Unleashed is god-awful, says
There you go.
Potato.
I used to be so excited for those after shows. And it was just,
Confidential was great.
Yeah. They've lost it. They've just lost it. They've lost the plot.
Unleashed is unbearable, says Jack Thursby. So some people seem to really like it, and I mean, obviously the idea is that it has the same effect that Confidential had, and kind of restocks the fan base and stimulates interest in a career in TV. I suppose their ambitions were that. It could be simply the case that a lot of this stuff is best off now on the YouTube channels and that kind of thing. Even the Radio Times puts a lot of its stuff on its website now, Matt, and there's a little box out here pointing in the direction of radiotimes.com. Doctor Who returns. There's new interviews with the two stars and Russell T Davies. It says on radiotimes.com. We've talked about some of those. There's been several that have come out over the last few days, so kind of too many to go into, really. And a lot of it's them largely saying the same stuff. And there we see that picture that they've used on those coasters there at the right.
Oh, yes. Well spotted. Well spotted.
Not my
different
first
coat, different coat, but yeah.
Lost the audience, says Lee Smith. I don't know how many people watch those Unleashed anymore. Unleashed is cheap to make. Well, yeah, cheap and cheerful.
But Confidential was cheap to make. You know, there's nothing necessarily wrong with cheap. It's whether it's any good. And Confidential, I thought, was good because, well, don't you think though as well with Confidential? For me, it went off the boil. During the Matt Smith years, they ended up about 45 minutes long, and it's just like, okay, it's just too much now. You know, 30 minutes was perfect. And then they just.
When it got to the point, Simon, where Confidential was longer than the episodes.
Yes. It just felt a bit self-indulgent. Yeah. So
a bit too much filler.
Yeah.
I mean, when they spend time, you know, talking about like what they're serving at the crafts tables, it's like, I don't want to know that much about the behind the scenes.
Yeah.
So we have been looking at the first episode preview there from the current edition of Radio Times, the first of 8 episodes previewed by Russell T Davies there. Obviously, this is still on sale, so you can go and get that and thumb through and find out all about it for yourselves if you wish. But we'll be looking at it on the weekly there and seeing how it matches up to each episode as it premieres on a Saturday. Okay, this week, it's all kicking off in just a couple of days' time, as of time of recording, with the Robot Revolution, as we mentioned earlier on, starring Ncuti Gatwa and Verada Sethu, and whoever these two guys are, and that big sort of glowing ball thing. And it looks visually interesting, which is everything that I think you can hope for in a Doctor Who at this point. So I'm not disappointed. I'm not disappointed yet. But that's how I'm looking at. I'm not disappointed. I'm not disappointed yet.
Oh, good.
It premieres at 8 a.m. on the BBC.
It looks like a new version of the Tomorrow People. Sorry.
I suppose it does, doesn't it? Yeah, clustered around. What was the robot? The computer called
Tim.
Tomorrow People. Tim. Clustered around Tim like that. Yeah. Tim. I think Tim would be a lot more high tech than the iPlayer.
We're going to jaunt. We're going to jaunt.
It's up at 8 a.m. on the iPlayer, everybody. You're not going to be able to sleep. You'll be that excited, Simon. 8 a.m. on the iPlayer and simultaneously on Disney Plus, of course, globally. So everywhere else gets it there before that premiere. The traditional premiere, Saturday tea time, BBC One, 6:50 p.m. in HD. And then for those so inclined, head over to BBC Three for your Doctor Who Unleashed there with Stephen Powell, the eternally jolly Stephen Powell hosting Doctor Who Unleashed. So, yeah, we're finally here. We've been talking about it incessantly when did the last series finish? Last summer? Something like that. But we're here. It's nearly Saturday, the 12th of April, and the new season of Doctor Who. You used to calling it season 2 yet, Gary? Have you got your head around that yet?
I always call everything seasons. You know,
Me too, Gary.
I grew up. I mean, all the American shows are seasons. The original series. I have to stop and actually say series because that doesn't come naturally to me.
I'm really glad you said that, Gary, because I'm exactly the same. I still can't quite get my head around it. I still would call it season.
Oh, it's going to be a chaotic couple of months. We'll do our level best. Of course, we will here at Type 40. Live, covering all things Doctor Who, but when there's a new season of Doctor Who on, obviously it's understandable. It's going to take up a lot of our airtime, too much thinking time, and we want your input, your interactions and comments as well. Of course we do. There are no wrong opinions here at Type 40 Live, and you can get ours. Myself and a couple of other regular panelists will be back on Saturday for yet more, believe it or not, from Saturday from 8 p.m. again, UK time, across all platforms, as always. Type 40 Live, Revolt, new Who reactions to the Robot Revolution by Russell T Davies coming your way there. So stay tuned for that.
Wow.
God, I hate AI. I really do.
It's quite funny though.
Yeah. I wonder what would happen if I actually wrote a,
she'll be
take the clothes off.
coming on the show before you know it.
Yeah, Tom.
Thank you to well, you know who you are, who sent that in. I think they wish to remain anonymous, but we do appreciate it. Lots of fun, and a few laughs there. I'm sure that she would see the funny side. I'd like to think she will. Okay, where and what next?
You're watching Type 40. Stupid tune anyway.
Flying the flag for the talent, dedication, and wealth of creativity out here in Doctor Who fandom. It's second to none. So there's never any shortage of pretty pictures to distract us from the dull every day as we scroll through our pudding-brained lives. At Type 40 Live, we've always done what we can to encourage and showcase Doctor Who fan art and fan artists in this, our virtual gallery. It's all in an effort to fill up these bloody walls. We keep on about this. Got the TARDIS interior's taken a hiding, hasn't it? 2 or 3 rounds from us this edition of the show. But we want to fill up the walls, really. Traditional or digital art, we don't care either. Both model makers and cosplayers can get involved too and send us some pictures, some representations of everything it is that you create. We're very, very greedy. They're very, very big walls. Another mention, I think, to this, because Phil was in the live chat earlier on, the fabulous poster, the first poster here for Doctor Who Meets the Scorpion, the long-awaited now fan film from Philip Roy and his various cohorts, his friends and his colleagues. Their incredibly evocative poster there from Harvey Honeyball Simon. This has got a touch of the Bowies about it. The colours.
Yeah, I guess it has. Really. I love the poster. It's just fantastic. That's proper classic Doctor Who to me. That's what Doctor Who should be. It's what I fell in love with. I didn't fall in love with rainbows or kilts or any of that stuff. I fell in love with zombies and monsters and Daleks and massive claw hands. So yeah, looks great to me. Can't wait for this.
Yes, so obviously we wish everybody working on Doctor Who Meets the Scorpion all the best. We know they're working on the edit now. It must be very exciting for them watching it all come together. And as long as they know that we're behind them every step of the way, as we have been now for nearly 2 years. If you want to find out more about Doctor Who Meets the Scorpion, go and hit up their social medias as well and tell them that Type 40 sent you. Okay, yeah, back to the present. For the time being, it does look like it's all about Belinda. She's the subject of a lot of fan art at the moment, particularly the digital stuff. There's this one from Whovian Life, which uses a couple of pictures. I think we've seen, certainly the one of the Doctor, we've seen that a few times already, and the backdrop of the TARDIS. But it does frame Verada very, very nicely there. I wouldn't call this an action pose. Exactly, Matt. But yeah, it's got something about it. I think it's got some. Obviously, when we meet the character and get a sort of feel for her, then we'll be a bit more affected. But I like this stuff. I like seeing the new publicity pictures used in creative ways.
You can tell me all about it, Dan.
He's double out. He's double out. So Whovian Life makes a lot of digital artwork like this, and classic stuff and new stuff, Simon. But obviously, to anybody who works in this medium, who puts together digital pieces, when there is when new photographs get released, they jump all over these and they use them to power their creativity as well, to see what they can do with them. I think it is a form of art, I think.
It's definitely a form of art, no two ways about it. But yeah, I just can't get excited. I see two very boring characters in front of me. It's a lovely piece of artwork. I
don't see Doctor Who at all. I don't see Doctor Who at all. Anything Doctor Who.
I don't see anything, Matt. I just don't see anything. Nothing.
See the latest fashions. That's it.
I like that particular set detail. I've always liked.
I love the background. What is that? Is that the? It's kind of a doorway.
It's one of the interior doors. And in all sincerity, obviously we haven't met Belinda yet, so I don't know what I feel about her.
No.
But it reminds me of earlier, I felt the same way about Rose, about Martha, about Amy. And although we didn't get photography like this in the classic series as such, it's similar. It's sort of the spirit of it is still Doctor Who. The problem that I have, quite right, Matt, is when I look over her shoulder and I see the guy stood there. Ncuti Gat was already in trouble in this character. He can't. I think he did find the character for a little while, but it just seemed to be evading him again. And to dress him like this, he looks fucking ridiculous in this outfit. There's no way of getting around it. The Doctor is not.
You read my mind, Dan.
The Doctor is not a fashionista, and it doesn't. And even though he's got his finger on his chin, and there is that kind of doctorish look in his eye, he's fighting from under that costume, and so it doesn't connect.
No, I agree, Dan, and the clash between the tartan on the top and sort of stripy denim on the bottom, it's just a mess. It's just awful. And my heart just sinks, and I just think, if this is what I'm missing on Saturday, I'm really quite happy. I'm really, really very happy to be out.
There's a school of thought that says, I think it's Paul McGann that says that the Doctor is a hair part, and others have said that every Doctor needs lapels to tug on.
Lapels. Interesting. Yeah, I like that.
No lapels. No hair to speak of. You see, Chris Eccleston had a similar haircut, but he got the lapels. You take away the lapels and the hair, you haven't got your Doctor.
I think unfortunately they sort of, Russell T Davies was maybe infatuated with the look of Ncuti Gatwa and thought that he could go a completely different route with the Doctor and make him, as you say, Dan, look cool and a fashionista, and that just isn't the Doctor. And this is one of the crucial reasons, I think, as to why it's just gone off the rails. But there we go. I'm happy to be out.
Let's look back to the past, shall we, and stay with modern methods of artwork, specifically AI and our friend MJ at Doctor Who and the Mid-Journey, who's created this full-length, well, near enough, picture of the lovely Nyssa, played by the even lovelier Sarah Sutton, all the way back in 1981 through to 83, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And you can see the pictures that MJ will have used to work with the AI. We know which pictures he's probably trained it on.
Knew it.
But it just looks beautiful. I think his work's getting better.
Yeah, I would agree. That's much more like it. That's lovely, and I see a Doctor Who companion there because I love the costume. I always loved that real rich burgundy costume.
Yeah.
Just worked so lovely. It's just a lovely piece of artwork. That is, I really like that.
Mid-Journey, you should try to find some way to send that to Sarah Sutton, because I think she'd really love it.
It's the detailing behind as well, I think, Gary, that works so well. It looks like, I'm trying to work out, are they snowflakes? Is the forest?
They do look vaguely like snowflakes, but I don't think it is it?
I mean, she looks just so regal and elegant in that pose. It's great.
The best I'd got was the forest on Castrovalva, but then I think she had the longer hair I think it's the hair from later on from season 20.
Yeah.
So perhaps it's from an adventure that MJ has imagined.
Well, also, because I think you're right, Dan. That longer hair is season 20, which, as I recall correctly, she didn't wear that particular costume at all in season 20, did she?
No, she had the light blue and white kind of blouse and the blue skirt
in Snake Dancing. I don't think she wore that. And there's nothing wrong with it at all. It's not a criticism at all. I just love. I always liked that costume. It just works so well. I think it is. It's this sort of Castrovalve costume But it's the season 20 hair. It's just great. It's good composite. Really, really like that. And I just love the colours. And as Gary says, she just looks very, very regal in it. And again, not wanting to compare it to the shot we just saw of Belinda, but I'm intrigued by that. I'm like, okay, who is this person? Why is she wearing those clothes? What is she all about? Whereas Belinda just already looks boring to me.
Belinda is also in corduroy, and yeah, I can see some.
You know what I mean, though?
Yeah.
She just looks boring. She just there's nothing. Whereas that, I'm interested.
Corduroy.
I've got to be honest. I'm not seeing a huge amount of difference here. It's the same colour from top from neck to cuff, I suppose, to boot cuff. There's slightly more arm on show, but
the only thing is that she's the one wearing the trousers.
I think it is the costume as much as anything. I think it's that just looks intriguing, interesting, unusual.
In all fairness, the way that Sarah's, it comes with 40 years worth of built up, not just love for this character, but that particular character was so. I wouldn't say she was maybe she was an introvert actually, but she was sort of mysterious in a similar way that Susan was. But there was a warmth.
She was
to her.
naive, that's for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So you still, even though she was very sort of clever, and she had all those personal qualities, you still felt that you wanted to protect her, Matt. You still feared for her in a way that you probably didn't for someone like Leela.
Even when I was like 8, 9. I was like, God, you're dumb. It's not your father, but I never really realized because I was so young. I was like, look, the master is not your father, right? And, and I just couldn't get my head around. Today, though, it's a totally different thing. It's like, oh, you think, your father's gone, but then all of a sudden there he is. It's a totally different way of looking at things, now being older. So I get it. And, I think she's one of the stronger characters in the Peter Davison era now. I've totally reevaluated it,
Fabulous
I
work.
never liked Turlo. I thought Turlo was stupid, but
fabulous work from Doctor Who in the Mid-Journey. We've got some compliments for you, MJ, if you're watching here in the live chat. Ooh, Nissa, says David Jenkins. Glorious Nissa, says Rob Alexander. Liven's Flame always liked Nissa. And Vanessa Law always loved that original outfit. So this is stimulating a lot.
Yeah, me
lot
too.
It looks historical, but it's a different planet. It's great.
Well, it's Shakespearean. Somebody says in the chat that it looks Shakespearean. It does. Robert Payne.
Fabulous stuff. Richard Brooks says she has an ability and a tenderness. Oh, that's beautifully put, Richard.
Yeah, that's it, isn't it?
Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah, it's really nice.
Castrovalva says Peter Harrington.
I love her in Castrovalva. I think she's brilliant in Castrovalva.
I don't think you could get a character like Nissa today in Doctor Who. In the last, I'm talking even in the last 20 years, I couldn't see Nissa being on a character just like Nissa with the innocence and everything. I don't see that she'd have to be a strong woman, and I just don't. It's just sad because I think she'd fit in anywhere,
Yeah, I agree.
Earlier on, we talked about the special effects department at the BBC closing down, Simon, and their most famous inhabitants, their most famous product was the Daleks, of course. Maintenance on the Daleks seemed to take up probably an inordinate amount of time while they were refitted, refurbished, and buffed up for subsequent appearances. That every time, because of course with J&T, he was bringing them back more, wasn't he? So they must have go and break out some more Dulux. Again.
Or some ICI White.
But in all sincerity, I don't think Doctor Who really feels like Doctor Who without the Daleks. And we believe, I've said several times on this show, if they don't deliver Daleks this season, they are screwed. It turns out it looks like they're screwed anyway. So, but it does appear we're not going to get Daleks. We can at least console ourselves that there are Daleks out there if you know where to look. This is more fan art credited to Bry on X. Now, I don't know if Bry's actually done this himself. He hasn't said, but there is a sort of Banksy style.
I was going to say it's
Dalek.
Banksy, isn't it? It is Banksy's done
It
it.
looks that way. We get a little bit closer. We can see, yeah, it's definitely a stencil.
It's very
of some
stencil,
kind.
isn't it?
It is a stencil. It is a stencil.
Usually,
I love that.
Usually, I would be all down on graffiti, Matt. I would have to wag my finger and get all down about it.
Graffiti is not art, no matter what you say. It's not art. I'm sorry.
But I think
even if it's
fabulous.
officially sanctioned, it's not art. I
do
graffiti.
think it's fabulous that in a time where there's kids, allegedly, according to the YouGov poll, who don't know what Doctor Who is, and was it like 26% of the population claim they've never seen it, that some of the iconography that may be drifting into obscurity is popping up in places like this.
Does anyone remember the Peter Capaldi episode with that guy that could do graffiti and the graffiti was coming to life or something? It was weird.
Oh, that was
Rigsy.
Yeah, in
no, I can't remember.
I can't think of the name of it.
Oh,
it was the one right after. It was the one right after. It was the one right after the Mummy episode.
There was it Flatline, and when they were
Flatline. That's it.
Story.
Yep.
Something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, Garbage and Jack Thursby. Well done. They spotted it.
You know what I'm really impressed by this is the use of the white space to create the gun.
Yeah, I like this.
Yeah, it's clever, isn't it?
That's really cool.
It's clever.
I do a lot of stuff with positive and negative in my work.
Yeah, and it's kind of a hybrid of sort of new season Dalek and movie Dalek. I mean, I think they've gone for the new season Dalek, but nonetheless, it reminds me the gun, at least, and the lights on the dome remind me very much of a movie Dalek. I just love it. I love the fact that it's a stencil, but it's really clever the way that they've done the spots on the skirt section. With clearly, you can see how the stencil has worked. That's why they've got the lines joining up the dots. But it works, actually. I really like it. And it also, do you know what? It's also just reminding me as well of the Century 21 Daleks. That's what it's like.
Yep.
Like a
it's
Century 21 comic.
By Ron Turner. Yeah, it does look.
Yes,
yeah,
yes, Dan.
Exactly what you mean.
The Ron Turner ones. Yes. That sort of. I love it.
Detail like that. You could introduce a detail like that to a Dalek, and it would not alter the appeal of the original design or compromise it in any way. It'd be a nice little wrinkle. We have people do seem to like this in the live chat. Where do I get the stencil?
I'm thinking the same thing. Dalek Lives Matter. I want that stencil. It's really cool.
Shelley has heard that the Daleks will show up at the end of the finale. It's I don't know. I've been told the Daleks aren't in. And I believe that the Daleks need to be in it. If they're not, it's a big mistake. They may surprise everybody, but who knows? Banksy Daleks, says Ezra Goldstein.
Yeah, they are definitely very Banksy.
Rob says the Daleks. Finally, I can root for them.
Yeah.
You evil man, Rob. You evil man. That's a good idea. We should all do it. Says Dalek Lives Matter. Maybe we should. So this really caught my eye, and I'm not in all seriousness. Generally, I'm not a graffiti guy, just like you, Matt. I wouldn't say it's not art. It is, but again, I've got all sort of daddist about it. They shouldn't really be doing it where they're doing it. But in this case, I think it's quite inventive, and I markers of Doctor Who in the real world, it's always going to get a pass from me. What a hypocrite. I don't know. Come clean if you are the graffiti artist behind this piece or any other piece. You can send them into us here at Type 40 Live, because we do like to champion any kind of fan art whatsoever, whether it could get you an ASBO or not. It will certainly get you up on our wall, man, because they're big walls, big walls. We're not proud. Stencils will absolutely work here, no problem whatsoever. You can send it our way by all means. If you know a fan artist or you are a fan artist, just send it our way or us its way, as long as we can get it up on those walls. People asking there in the comments in the live chat on YouTube, Rumble, Facebook, and X, how can you do that? We can reach out to us through our social media. That's Instagram and X at Type 40 Doctor Who, as always. Or you can simply join the Type 40 Facebook group there and plaster the wall with your fan art from people that you admire. Show us where we can get it. And maybe people can give you their honest opinions and appraisals as well. Lots of constructive criticism, I've no doubt. Stephen Braddock posts a lot of artwork in there, and so do others. So, yeah, get over to the Facebook group, join up, and let fly with your creativity. Get involved with Type 40 itself, the podcasts and the live streams by recording us a message on SpeakPipe there, a message, a question, bit of feedback, any predictions, constructive criticisms. If you want to tell me I'm too, what was it earlier on, too upbeat, it's all fine. It all goes into the mix. Come and start a fight over there on SpeakPipe. Thank you, everybody, for joining us so far. Type 40 Live on Rumble, X, YouTube, and Facebook. We're nearly there in just 2 days or 2 nights or 2 mornings time. Season 2 of Doctor Who. Here at last. So, Matt, you're not watching. Simon, you're not watching. Gary, I know you're in it up to your neck, though, aren't you?
I will. Yes, I will. I will be joining you for the.
You're a sucker for punishment, Gary. That's all I'll say.
You know what? I'm looking forward to having Virata Sethu in my living room in a couple of days.
There you go.
Good luck, everyone.
Yeah, good luck, everybody.
Thank you, Ian. Yes, so we've got this 8 episodes. It could all be over in 7 weeks' time, by the sounds of it. Yes, so Type 40 Live, will bring you instant reactions to that opening episode of Season 2, The Robot Revolutions, as soon as we can make it.
Will it be another Space Babies?
As soon as we can make it back here to the mics and to the cams, you'll get our customary, candid, and hottest of takes as we're processing the robot revolution. Right here, taking your comments, your rants, and your raves, all opinions as welcome as ever. That's Saturday at 8 p.m. UK time with a few of us regulars and some specially invited guests too from YouTube and from podcasting. So you're not going to want to miss that. Come and get involved with us here and we'll all suffer. We'll all suffer together. Okay, yes. Thank you again for your company. As always, Simon, great to have you back. The diary and your enthusiasm for the merchandise, which I know is boundless.
Absolutely, it's all on pre-order. I've filled my basket.
Oh, not even the what was it? The Thinking Doctor.
I can live without all of it. I think, truth be told.
I'm happy to wear an Ewok in public, but not Shruti. I'm afraid.
That's no, I won't say it. Matt, thanks for getting up, mate. Happy Friday to you, my friend. Obviously, you're a real lifetime traveller. How is Friday looking so far?
It's looking better than Saturday.
Thanks, Matt. Catch up with you again in the next week or so, I do hope. And everybody out there with the comments, thank you so much. What else have we got? I want to see the panel wearing those T-shirts next week, says Jack Thursby.
Don't hold your breath, Jack.
Yeah, good luck with that, Jack.
Abandon hope, all ye that enter here, says Stephen Braddock. I don't know what he means. Yes, so we're going to pull the handle now because we're back. We'll be back before you know it. So, we'll be floating around out there. So make sure you're subbed up and the notifications are on. We will make it through together, I'm certain. But until then, we always have the time if you have the space here at Type 40 Live. We'll be back in less than 48 hours' time, everybody. See you on the other side. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.